Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ blessed. Blessed Sabbath to you. My name is Brother Zerubbabel.
My name is Ezra Zelazar.
And once again, we are with Children of Israel. And we are coming back again on this Sabbath day to bring out some more milk to feed the flock. Um, there's a lot going on in Israel, a lot of foolishness going on. And Lord's will, this lesson will be edifying to the body, um, to give us an understanding of, some of the reasons why we shouldn't be treating each other certain ways, saying certain things about each other, and just in our actions, period. Um, we should be repenting from certain dealings that we're doing in Israel, certain languages that we're using in Israel that is counterproductive to grow the spirit of our people into righteousness. Um, the name of the lesson today, this is we're going to be going over Commandment 6. So the lesson today that we're going to be going through is Commandment 6. Um, and Lord's will, we'll get an understanding of what Commandment 6 is talking about, the importance behind Commandment 6, because a lot of the things that are going on in society today is mainly due to the fact that people are not following Commandment 6. A lot of the hatred, a lot of the violence, a lot of the killings and murders, everything that we see going on today is a direct response, or for lack of a better word, because of people not following the commandments. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people in the world today, and I'm talking about the world, that God and the commandments are nowhere in their vocabulary. It's nowhere in their thoughts. Even among the Christian churches, keeping the commandments is not in their thoughts. Even among a lot of so-called Israelites, people that are walking around with beards and fringes and a border of blue on, women that are not wearing pants, people that are on the outside showing that they're Israelites, but on the inside they're very corrupt.
Right.
And a lot of this is due to the fact that our people don't know the commandments. In the Christian churches, if you are taught the 10 commandments, you're taught an abbreviation of the commandments. You're just, simply taught, thou shalt not kill, and just left at that. But nowadays, there's a movement going on in Israel, basically to take the commandments completely out of the church. And because of that, the direct result of that is all the violence that we see going on in society today. It is a direct result of people not knowing and not being willing to keep the commandments because of the influence of outside influences of the world, especially among our youth. Let's open up real quick. Let's go to Ephesians 4 and 29 first.
Right. Really quick. Great introduction. You said women that are not wearing pants. We mean women that are wearing pants and not wearing skirts.
No. I'm talking about women that are not wearing pants. So they're wearing dresses. They're looking the part of an Israelite, but inside they're not displaying, the actions or the attributes of what a real Israelite is on the inside. So
There you go.
they've taken off the pants, but they might as well put the pants right back on because they're not acting like Israelites.
There you go.
We're going to Ephesians 4 and 29.
The book of Ephesians, chapter 4 and verse 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that
So,
which is good to the use of it edifying, that it may minister grace unto hearers.
all right. So it says, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth. So a lot of this violence, a lot of these things that are going on in society is mainly attributed to the communication that our people are indulging in, whether it's verbal communication, nonverbal communication, whether it's technology coming from your radio, coming from your TV, coming from your cell phone, coming from your iPad or laptop, computer, whatever it is that you mainly use to communicate with. That communication has direct dealings with the actions of a person. It could have a direct influence on the action of the person that's indulging in that communication, whether it be profanity, because now, right now in Israel, we have people that are teaching that saying profanity, that there's nothing wrong with it. Why are these things going on? We just read the scriptures say, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth. And you've got leaders in Israel that are making excuses for the use of profanity. Oh, you guys don't know what you're talking about. That's, those words are French words. The white man came up with those words. Those words had nothing to do with Israel until the white man taught it to you. And it's like, okay, so if the white man taught this to us, why would we want to continue using them? These words, can we all agree that all this profanity that we're hearing in the music, that we're seeing and hearing on TV, all over the internet, everywhere you go, you're hearing people from young age to old using profanity. Can we all not agree that the profanity, the communication that our children have been receiving over these last 30, 40, 50 years has utterly corrupted our people? If there's nothing wrong with using profanity, why would our enemies have used it to utterly corrupt our youth? Now the corrupt youth are now corrupted adults that don't know how to control their emotions. When they get upset, angry, they get sad or mad, their first response is to use profanity. And along with the profanity comes violence. But you got Israelite leaders out there teaching our people that it's okay, that there's nothing wrong with using profanity. These brothers that are teaching don't use profanity are just soft. I guess I'm just soft. Or maybe I'm just somebody that's tired of seeing our people be corrupted. Have you ever stopped to think about that? But what did the scriptures say? A sinful man will not be reproved, but findeth an excuse according to his will. That's what you see going on. You see a lot of these men that are caught up in sin because they try and say it is not sin to use profanity. When right here we're reading, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth. Everybody knows that profane language is corrupt communication. You guys should still be able to hear me. I'm trying to fix my camera. Profanity is corrupt communication. And it's coming out of the mouth or mouths of our people. And it's corrupting our people. So what are these so-called leaders in Israel talking about? Are you really trying to change our people, or are you just talking the talk? We all have to take a step back and really analyze and understand, what is it that we're really trying to do? Are we really trying to change the hearts and minds of our people, or are we just talking? Because if you're really trying to change the hearts and minds of our people, Starting with the corrupt communication is a must. We have to rid our people of this profanity because it's profane. That's where the word profanity comes from. It's profane communication. It's profane language. No matter how you try to spin it, no matter the excuses you use. Read that one more time.
Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers.
Is all this profane language that a lot of these Israelite leaders are using, is that good to the use of edifying the body of Israel? Be real about it. There's nothing good about it. It's not edifying anybody. So why use it? Why condone it? Why teach our people that there's nothing wrong with it? Because now you're starting to hear it creep up into the Israelite music. You can go on YouTube and start playing music from, it doesn't even matter what camp, because about all the camps are using profane language in their music now. You're seeing the same acts of violence being portrayed in Israelite music as you see in worldly music. People holding up the signs of the guns and stuff like this. There's nothing different. The only difference is that in some of your lyrics, you're using the Lord, you're using Yahweh, you're using Yahweh Shai. But at the same time, you're still using the B's, the B words, the HOE word. You're still using the S word, the F word. You know what I mean? What's the difference? How can we say that you're a new creature in Christ, but yet you're still talking like, walking like, acting like a person of the world? And then we wonder why there's so much animosity in Israel, so much turmoil going on, where people are talking bad about each other, brothers having hatred towards each other, even fights happening at camps between different camps, murders happening in Israel. It's crazy. All right, let's go to 1 Corinthians 15:33.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 33. Be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners.
He says, be not deceived. Anybody teaching you that it's okay to use profanity, they're deceiving you, and they're deceiving themselves. Be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners. Our enemies understand this because that's why they use this corrupt communication to corrupt the good manners of our children. Everything from the music videos, movies, cartoons, TV shows, everything that they've put out for our people to indulge in has profane language in it. It has profane actions in it. And it has utterly corrupted our people to the point to where our people cannot, you can't even walk down the street nowadays without having to worry about getting beat up, stabbed, or shot. Or somebody just even simply saying something to you. But you have people in Israel teaching Israel that it's okay to use this corrupt language, to use this profane language, that there's nothing wrong with it. There's everything wrong with it. And the fact that you're teaching that there's nothing wrong with it means that there's everything wrong with you, that you need to check your spirit. You need to check your doctrines and what you're teaching our people, because you're part of the problem. At the same time, you're going out talking about you're solving the problem. You are being part of the problem. So that's just something to think about. Let's go to Isaiah 1 and 4.
The book of
Now, this
Isaiah,
is just, I'm sorry, this is just an introduction as we move towards the lesson. Remember, we're talking about Commandment 6. Go ahead.
the book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 4. A sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backward.
So he calls us a sinful nation. He says we're a people laden with iniquity. He calls us a seed of evildoers. He says we are children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. And you have men that are leaders in Israel that are still wanting to corrupt our people by trying to play down the fact that profanity is wrong, that it's not conducive into trying to change our people into righteous people. We need to get rid of it. We need to get it out of Israel. We need to get it out of our people. We need to get it out of society as a whole. Because not only has Israel been corrupted by it, but the entire world's been corrupted by it. Everything starts with us. Our people are corrupted. We're supposed to be the examples for the other nations, and the other nations are corrupted by it. Yeah, we could sit here and blame Esau all we want. Yeah, it's Esau that taught our people this. Yeah. But just because he taught it to us, did it mean that we had to embrace it? If somebody brings you a skunk and says, "Man, I know you're hungry. Here, eat this. It'll satisfy your hunger." You have enough sense to go, you know what? I ain't eating that. Just because you handed it to me and said it's gonna quench my hunger, don't mean that you got to eat it. And that's the same thing with the things that Esau has given us. Esau has given us the corrupt language. Esau has corrupted our music. He's corrupted the movies. He's corrupted the TV shows. He's corrupted everything and given it to us. And he knew that we would be the ones that'll spread it. All he had to do is just put it in our hands. And look at what we've turned into. And how was he able to do this? By getting rid of the commandments, getting God out of everything, using the church to corrupt the hearts and minds of our people by telling our people that the law is done away with, that the commandments are done away with, taking our people's meditations away from the word and putting our meditations on their corrupt communications. But is that what the Bible teaches? Is what we've learned in the churches and what we've learned in society, does that go hand in hand with what God has taught us in the Bible? Does the Bible say that the commandments are done away with? Let's go to Matthew 19 and 16. You're going to read through verse 19. I'm trying to fix my camera again. I don't know. I'm going to have to order another camera because this one is bugging out on me.
The book of Matthew, chapter 19 and verse 16. It says, "And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? And he said unto him, Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is God. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments."
So, in other words, if you want the kingdom of heaven, you want to get everlasting life, do what?
Keep the commandments.
Keep the commandments. Keep the commandments. It's simple. We want to get the kingdom. We've got to keep the commandments. There is nowhere in the scripture that says that the commandments are done away with. Go ahead and read.
He said unto him, which Jesus said, thou shalt do no murder.
Wait, what was the first one that came out of Christ's mouth?
Thou shalt do no murder.
Thou shalt do no murder. Commandment 6, thou shalt do no murder. Read.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Uh-huh.
Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Honor thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
So Christ didn't say that the commandments are done away with. So where are they getting this from in the churches? That God's commandments don't apply. That the churches not teaching the commandments is a direct result of the foolishness we see in the world today. You have to understand this. The churches and these pastors that are teaching that the commandments are no longer valid is one of the main reasons we see so much murder and killing and hatred going on in the world today. There are some today who claim the commandments are done away with. Actually, in fact, I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to share my screen. Hold on. Give me 1 second. What's going on with you? Just give me a second. It's going slow. All right. Let me know if you can see it. You can see it. All
Yep.
right. So a lot of people should know who this devil is right here. Creflo Dollar. So let's listen to what this man says. I know a lot of people played this, even back when he first said it a few years ago, but it's still relevant today because we still see the same foolishness going on in the churches. So I'm going to click play. Let me enlarge it.
How the law stirs up sin. We looked at that. So if we Christians hope for victory over sin,
can you still see
we
it?
shouldn't have any relationship with the law.
There's no video.
Okay, hold on.
There's the audio.
Yeah, somehow it jumps screens. Now can you see it?
If we should hope for victory over sin, we should not have any relationship with the law, which is over 600 of them, and also not even the Big Ten.
We should have no relationship with the law, even the Big Ten. Is he serious? Yes, he is.
Not even the Big Ten. Ooh, I know that just freaking your tradition out. Not even the Big Ten.
Now, I'm going to rewind it again. No, we're not hearing things. Let me see. What happened? You can still see it, right?
It's a blank screen right now.
Yeah, I don't know why this thing is acting up. All right, there we go. You can see it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Christians hope for victory over sin. We shouldn't have any relationship with the law, not even the 10 Commandments.
We know what happened to the sound.
Over sin. We should not have any relationship with the law, which is over 600 of them. And also not even the Big Ten. Not even the Big Ten. Ooh, I know that's just freaking your tradition.
But you guys get the idea, though. Hold on. So Mr. Creflo is one of these main people that is perpetuating that we should have no relationship with the commandments. Absolutely none. It's people like him, pastors like him, politicians that have that same mindset, teachers in schools that have that same mindset, that we should have nothing to do with God's commandments. One of the main reasons why we're having the issues and the problems that we're having in society today. But I say, let God be true and all these people be liars. Right. Let's go to Romans 3:1-4.
The book of Romans, chapter 3 and verse 1. What advantage then had the Jew, or what profit is there of circumcision? much every way, chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of God. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect? God forbid. Yeah, let God be true, but every man a liar. As it is written, that thou might be justified in thy saying, and mightest overcome when thou art judged.
So we've got to let God be true, but every man a liar. We're going to see as we go through this lesson, it's going to be clear that Creflo Dollar is a liar. And any other pastor that is teaching that the commandments are done away with is a liar. Any man teaching that it's okay to use corrupt communication, to use profane language, to use what we call today profanity is a liar. We need to stop listening to these men. Let's go to Acts 5:29.
The book of Acts, chapter 5 and verse 29. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men.
So he says we ought to obey God rather than men. That's what we need to do. We need to stop obeying and listening to these men that are teaching corrupt doctrines, which are corrupting our people and perpetuating the very violence and just, man, our people are destroyed. It is the destruction of an entire people, an entire nation. And you can't stress it enough. We need to get this corrupt communication out of the minds of our people. It's destroyed us, and it's going to continue destroying us as long as we have people out here that continue to perpetuate it and say that it's okay to use it and to do it. All right. So we're dealing with Commandment 6. No, Commandment 6 is not done away with. Commandments 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are not done away with. 7, 8, 9, and 10 are not done away with. Our focus today is Commandment 6. Although the Bible tells us that there is a time for everything. There is a time for everything. But this is not the time for us to be teaching our people corrupt communication. This is not the time to continue to allow our people's thoughts to be meditating on the foolishness of this world. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. You're going to read verses 1-8.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3 and verse 1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get, and a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to cast away, a time to rend, and a time to sow, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak, a time to love, and a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace.
So there is a time for everything. Everything under the sun. There's as he says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. And there is a time to kill. When is that time to kill? In the defense of yourself, the defense of a loved one, somebody's trying to take your life. By all means, you need to defend yourself. You need to defend your life. Someone's trying to take the life of a loved one or harm a loved one, you need to come to the defense of that loved one. He says there's a time of war and a time of peace. During warfare, whether you want to be out there or not, you joined up with the Army, Navy, Marine, whatever army that you're in, the Army of Israel back in the day, you got sent out to war. It was a time to kill. Outside of that, should there be murder going on? Should there be killing going on a daily basis? Because that's what we're seeing in society today. Every time you turn on the news, there's a kidnapping and a murder, or a rape and a murder, or a shooting, or a stabbing, or somebody just simply getting into a fight, a verbal argument, all throughout society, not just in New York, not just in California, not just in Florida, not just in Detroit, which is Michigan, not just in Illinois, not just in Texas. It's worldwide that we're seeing these things happening. The entire earth is corrupted. The main reason is because the Lord's people are corrupted. God's chosen people are corrupt. You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, ye are the children of the Most High God. Ye are his children. Ye are the people of the Lord. And you've allowed yourselves to be utterly corrupted. And because you're corrupted, the entire earth is corrupted. Because they used you to corrupt the earth. They used our music. They used our people that are in the entertainment business, the actors, the actresses, the comedians, all the ones that are willing to sell their souls in order to make that money. The ones that are willing to go on to, get into these TV shows and these movies and take their clothes off. The ones that are willing to get into these movies and TV shows and in the music use this profane language. The ones that are willing to go into these movies and TV shows and show all the violence of fighting, of killing and shooting each other. Also, even in the music videos. We're living in perilous times that you can't even go to Taco Bell. You can't even go to McDonald's, Burger King. You can't even go to Kentucky Fried Chicken, Church's Chicken, Popeye's Chicken without an argument happening, which then escalates into from a verbal confrontation into a physical confrontation. Now you have people pulling guns out on the workers in drive-thrus because you didn't get enough ketchup. They forgot one of your fries in the bag, so you want to go off. This is how insane or insanely ignorant our people have become. It's crazy. Let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 3. You're going to read verses 1 through 6.
The book of 2 Timothy, chapter 3, and verse 1. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away.
We
For
are
of the,
told from such turn away. Oh, go ahead and read verse 6.
verse 6, for of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sin, led away with diverse lusts.
So, of this sort are they that creep into houses and lead away silly women. But I want to focus on that from such turn away. We are told to turn away from these kind of people, to turn away from these kind of actions. It's talking about these times. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. We are living in these times, literally today. We are living through this. We are living through the times where men are and women are lovers of their own selves. If you don't believe me, go to Facebook, go to TikTok, go to Instagram, and see how many of our people are on there and all they're doing is showing off what they got, whether it's their body from working out, showing how much money they got through, what do they call it, flexing now, where they're showing all the money, showing off their new car or their new house. It's blatantly clear that people have become in love with themselves. You've got people on these platforms talking about how they don't need a woman, they don't need a man. I could do good, I do good by myself, or I could do bad by myself. Now you've got men saying that. I don't, man, with the women we got to deal with today, I don't need no woman. Covetous, very covetous, boasters. That's what we're talking about. People online boasting. Proud. You see a lot of pride. Pride is one of the main things that leads to violence because somebody's pride is hurt. Somebody said the wrong thing to them, used corrupt communication, called them a name, used profanity towards them. Blasphemers like this Creflo Dollar that's lying on the Bible saying that the 10 Commandments are done away with. Disobedient to parents. That's why these children nowadays are just utterly corrupt. Because instead of the parents raising their kids, the kids are being raised by the school system and by the government. And along with that, they're using their tools such as the internet. They're using the television. They're using the radio. They're using the cell phone. They're using all these things to raise the kids rather than the parents raising the kids. And there is nothing but evil communication in all of these platforms. And we wonder why the kids are growing up to be the way they are, setting them down in front of the video games and allowing them to play these shoot 'em up, kill 'em up video games all day. I remember I had one of my students, um, man, this was maybe 7, 8 years ago, maybe. Supposed to have been getting prepared to test for his black belt. Mind you, the black belt testing was a week away. I remember it was a Friday. It was a Friday day. It was a Friday evening. At the time, I didn't know any better. I was teaching on Friday and Saturdays. Had the kids' parents bring him to class on that Friday. I want to go over everything with him, everything he's going to need to know. Go over his forms, go over his weapons forms, go over his self-defense techniques, go over everything that he needed to know to test for his black belt. Because you got to know every form from white belt to that red black belt just before black belt. You had to know all the sparring combinations. You got to know everything. So I'm going to give you some extra help. Come on in, come take the other classes so you can go through it. Had him come back in on that Saturday. Same thing again. He knew everything. Send him home, high five. Yeah, good job. You got it. You'll be ready next week. The kid came back on that Monday and didn't know nothing. Everything we had gone over that Friday and Saturday, he didn't know a thing. So I asked him, like, did you practice over the weekend? And he just sat there looking at me with this look like, and his dad says, no, don't sit there looking like that. Tell him what you did. Tell him what you did. I told you to practice, but instead of practicing, tell him what you did all weekend. And I said, what did you do? And he sat there and went, play video games. And I'm like, you what? Play video games? And I'm like, how much video games did you play that you didn't take the time out to practice so you'd be prepared for testing next week? And he looked at his dad, and his dad's like, don't look at me. You're the one that did it. I told you to practice and you didn't want to practice. So I said, all right, you're the one that's going to have to explain to him when you don't know anything next week. I asked him, how much time did you play video games? Like, what did you do on Saturday? You got out of class at like 12 noon. What'd you do the rest of the day? Played video games. How late did you play video games? Until 11 o'clock. And I'm like, what? So you're telling me from the moment you walked through the door at home, you sat there playing video games all day until 11 o'clock at night? Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. Okay, what about Sunday? What'd you do Sunday? And I'm like, oh, let me guess. Played video games. Yeah. So you're telling me you played video games all day? His dad was like, he's not lying. From the moment he woke up Sunday morning, he started playing his video games. The only time he came out of his room was for dinner Sunday night. And then he went back and continued playing video games. And then the father tried to turn on me. So then when I said, you know what, since you didn't practice, you're not testing. And his father turns, wait, he's not what? Like, he's not testing. He didn't practice. He doesn't know his stuff. And I doubt he's going to be ready to test this weekend. So no, he's not testing. And the father tried to curse me out. That's part of the reason why I got fed up with teaching. Like, you know what? Things have changed. Where is this coming from that these kids don't want to practice? These parents think they could talk to you anyway nowadays. It just wasn't worth it anymore. But these kids are being allowed to sit down and play these video games for hours on end. And you really think this is not going to have an effect on their mindset, on their actions? Don't deceive yourselves. You need to cut down on the video game playing, especially nowadays. It says, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers. That's where a lot of this violence comes from, also from people breaking truth. Yeah, you know what? I know you said this about me, but it's all good. Let's keep it peaceful. You apologize. Everything's all good. But then they'll go and break that truce and go right back on social media and start talking bad about the person. And then that escalates things, falsely accusing each other of things. We're seeing that a lot in Israel. People, just quick to call people pedophiles, quick to call people, murderers, quick to call people faggots and homosexuals and all kinds of crazy stuff. Giving no proof that what they're saying is true, but just speaking it. Incontinent, fierce. That's why we got so much of this violence, because people are fierce one towards another. Despisers of those that are good. When people are trying to be the mediator, people are trying to come in and break up the fight, or be, the truce makers, be the peacemakers. People despise them. They can't stand them. You're trying to teach them the Bible and teach them to keep God's commandments, and you get despised for it. Traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. These children know more about Captain America, Superman, Batman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and all these different superheroes than they know about Christ. They know more about Call of Duty than they know about Christ. They know more about playing Madden than what they know about Christ. Lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. People know more about the latest song on the radio than they know about the Most High. They love going to the club more than they love going to church or going to the schools to learn. And you have Israelite leaders that even profess and admit that they still go to the club, that tell you straight out that they go to the club all the time. We shouldn't be having no dealings with the club, nothing with the world. Having a form of godliness, that's what some of these leaders are. They have a form of godliness, but they deny the power thereof. From such turn away. We need to turn away from these leaders. These leaders that are allowing our people to stay in the world and continue in this corrupt communication, which is corrupting the manners of our children, which are turning into adults, which are now corrupted adults. But we can't say we were not warned about this stuff, that we were not warned that this would happen to our people, that we were not warned that we would live in times like this. We just read about it in 2 Timothy 3:1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. We are living in perilous times. And as we go through this lesson, it's going to be quite clear how bad things are, how bad it is in society, and how far the children of God have fallen. You so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are the children of God. In fact, grab Deuteronomy 14:1. Because, see, they have everybody thinking that everybody in the church is a child of God. But that's not so. That's not who God calls his children. The Lord makes it clear that he has only one nation, one group of children. And that's the Israelites, you so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Go ahead and read it when you got it.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 14 and verse 1. Ye are the children of the Lord your God.
Read that again.
Ye are the children of the Lord your God.
He says, ye are the children of the Lord your God. He's talking to one people, the Israelites. We are the children of God. Nobody else. He's the God of the Israelites and no one else. How can we say that? Because the Bible tells us that. Grab that Joel 2:27. I love this precept. because this is the one of those end all be all precepts that once this comes out, you cannot buck up against it. This shuts down all lies. This shuts down any thought that people may have that God loves everybody, that everybody's a child of God, that Christ came and died for everyone, that God is the God of everybody. Read what you got.
The book of Joel, chapter 2 and verse 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed.
And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else. What else needs to be explained after that precept is read? There shouldn't be no arguing from no Christian apologetic, from no foolish Christian pastor, from some fool out there in the world that says that there is no God, or that God loves everyone, that God's all inclusive. It's crazy that people have no idea what this Bible is actually teaching. And we've all been there. We've all been there. But what do we have to do? We had to repent. We had to read. We had to study. And we had to inform ourselves. We had to educate ourselves as to what this Bible really teaches. Because there's a lot of people that are being fooled in the world into believing that the God of this Bible is the God of everybody, and that the God of this Bible says that his commandments are done away with. And now we have a society where people and children are utterly corrupted, especially God's children, the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and are out there committing a lot of atrocities in the world and destroying themselves. And like I said a second ago, it's not like we were not warned that this would happen. I'm going to share my screen again. You know what? I'm not going to play it here. I'll play it over here. Because let me know when you can see it, all right? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we want.
So this goes all the way back to 1993. I remember when this was going on. I remember when they were having these congressional hearings. C. Dolores Tucker was on. She was speaking out against the gangster rap. They were speaking out against the violence in the video games, the violence and all the stuff going on in the movies, the TV shows, and nobody listened. Tupac made a song degrading this woman, but here it is all these years later, and the lady was absolutely correct in what everything she was saying. She was absolutely right.
I want to hear from the president of the National Congress of Black Political Women, which I had something to do when it was founded, who helped to found it, who has had a distinguished political career in own right and has of late been taking the lead on this issue of violence against women, C. Dolores Tucker. Let's bring on.
Jesse Jackson and the National Rainbow Coalition are to be commended for their foresight in addressing the number one domestic problem in this nation, the violence in America. The National Political Congress of Black Women is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization created in 1984 at the suggestion of Reverend Jackson at the 1984 Democratic National Convention to empower African American women economically and politically. Its founding members do include some of the most prominent and concerned women in America, including Mary Berry and Dr. Dorothy Height, our mayor of this city, Alexis Sherman, Dr. Gloria A. Toot, Jewel Jackson McCabe, Reverend Willie Barrow, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, Eleanor Holmes Norton, Curtis Collins, and Congresswoman Barbara Rose Collins. We embrace and salute the goals of this conference. Today, we have all come together to join forces to address the issue of violence in the nation. A violence which has decimated our communities, devastated our families, and destroyed the souls of so many of our youth. It is imperative that we stop the agendas that are not too relevant as this, that we stop pondering over the issue of space exploration, that we stop debating whose diary we should publicize, that we stop arguing over what choices each lifestyle has. For today, we must be serious about this serious situation, this plague, this death to our society. Our greatest fear right here in America is not from hurricanes or earthquakes, not from disease or war, but from violence one against the other. We must understand clearly that violence comes in many forms and is acted upon by many sources. Whether we are talking about physical violence, spiritual violence, economic violence, or sexual violence, the end result is the same: the destruction of human life. Enough is enough. And I'd like someone to bring me what made me say enough is enough. Where's my graphic? Bring it up here, please, somehow. I am here to put the nation on notice that violence perpetuated against women through the music industry in the forms of gangster rap and misogynist lyrics will not be tolerated any longer. Principle must come before profit. A year ago, I established the National Political Congress of Black Women's Entertainment Commission, headed by Dionne Warwick, Melba Moore, Terry Rossi of Billboard magazine, and Vaughn Alexander, our director. It had one primary goal: the task of examining and developing strategies and solutions for reshaping and maintaining positive images to preserve the dignity and the heritage of our youth. Instead of continuously exposing our youth to negative media that distorts their images of male-female relationships, that undermines the stability of our families, communities, and nation by encouraging violence, abuse, and sexism as acceptable behaviors, and perpetuates the cycle of low self-esteem of African American youth. Thus, images that degrade our dignity and are an insult to our children, our families, and communities concern us too. And that includes all this gangster rap and misogynist lyrics. Music that glorifies and promotes violence with guns, knives, or drugs, and denigrates and defames women. And with the release of Snoop Doggy Dogg's debut album, Doggy Style, that includes artwork that is nothing but pornographic smut, available to any child to go in and buy with the album and with a record. That has got to stop. You want to know why I'm on the warpath? When I saw this, I said, that's it. We march again, and we're going to keep on marching and demonstrating the truth. For 400 years, profit came before principle, as Black women bore the brunt of slave masters' degradation. But even through the Middle Passage, the peculiar institution of slavery, the spirit of Black women and their families could not be broken. Today, however, through the lyrics of rappers who display no respect for women, no respect for families, and little respect for themselves. The souls of our sisters are being destroyed, and so too their progeny. All of us have watched as the industry has grown. We have watched not really knowing, not really understanding, not first realizing the damage that is inherent in what some thought were merely words. Now we see the direct and indirect effects. We see the rise in murders, in abuse, in batterings, teen prostitution, and teen suicide. We hear the wailing mothers, the grieving sisters, the tormented brothers and fathers and children planning their own funerals with pink dresses and pink caskets. We feel their hopelessness and helplessness, and we embrace their pain. Yet in the midst of these tragedies, others still want to argue about the First Amendment right to freedom of speech, a freedom they have embraced to call African American women ho.
So stop right there. As she uses some of those words. All right. You can see me again?
Yep.
Okay. So that's C. Dolores Tucker. Now, is there anything wrong with what she said? Everything she said was absolutely true. And we're still seeing it today. We're seeing the unforeseen of, well, they were foreseen, but there were people trying to act like there was no foreseen effects that would come about later on in the future from allowing this music, allowing this communication to run rampant in our communities. And you had people that were crusading against it and saying, why can't we do something more positive for our youth? Why can't we do something that's more uplifting for what she was calling the African American community, the so-called Black community, which now we know is the Israelite community? But you still have even so-called leaders in the Israelite community still saying that there's nothing wrong with using that language. Why? Because their minds are still back at that time where there was, nobody thought there was anything wrong. They're perpetuating the very thoughts foolishly that there's nothing wrong with saying these words. These words don't mean anything. Now we're finding out that those words mean everything because it has utterly, totally corrupted an entire nation of people. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 31 and verse 24. You're going to read all the way through verse 29.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 31 and verse 24. And it says, and it came to pass, when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in a book until they were finished, that Moses commanded the Levites, which bear the ark of the covenant, the Lord, saying, take this book of the law and put it in the side of the ark of the covenant of the law of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against thee. For I know thy rebellion and thy stiff neck.
Wait,
Behold,
you said what? Read that again.
For I know thy rebellion and thy stiff neck.
He says, for I know thy rebellion and thy stiff neck. Moses knew how crazy our people were. Go ahead.
Behold, while I am yet alive with you this day, ye have been rebellious against the Lord, and how much more after my death?
He says, while I'm yet alive, he's like, well, I'm still living with you. This day, you have been rebellious against the Lord. Ever since I've been among you guys have been rebellious against the Lord. And it's going to get even worse after I die. That's what he said. How much more after my death? That's what he's telling us. After I die, you guys are going to become even worse. Read on.
Gather unto me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears and call heaven and earth to record against them. For I know that after my death ye will utterly corrupt yourselves.
Wait, read that again.
For I know that after my death ye will utterly corrupt yourselves.
He says, for I know that after my death ye will utterly corrupt yourselves. Ye will utterly corrupt yourselves. Look at our people today in 2022. Was Moses not speaking facts? Was he not telling the truth? Read on.
And turn aside from the way which I have commanded you, and evil will befall you in the latter days.
He's
Because
talking
you,
about these times, the same times that we're reading about in 2 Timothy chapter 3, that in the last days perilous times shall come. Moses warned us about this way back in Deuteronomy, saying that we would utterly corrupt ourselves, that we would turn aside from the way which he had commanded us, and evil would befall us in the latter days, the last days. We're going through these evils for a reason. But we want to listen to the Creflo Dollars. We want to listen to the Joel Osteens and all these corrupt pastors instead of listening to the God of the Bible. Go ahead and read on.
because you will do because ye will do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger through the works of your hands.
He says, because ye will do evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger through the work of your hands. You sure he didn't say through the work of the white man's hands?
Through the work of your hands.
He says through the work of our hands. Through the work of our hands, we become utterly corrupt. You see, just because Esau left the breadcrumbs didn't mean that we had to follow them. We made the decision. We decided to go in that path. But we always want to blame everything on Esau. We know Esau is the wicked the Bible speaks of. But what about our wickedness? We forget about it. We're so busy always pointing the finger over here that we forget to look over there and see what our people have actually done to themselves. We've done this to ourselves. We put ourselves in this position by not following the commandments. We have utterly corrupted ourselves. We've corrupted the way we speak to each other. We've corrupted the way that we communicate with each other on a daily basis. You can't even walk by one of your brothers on the street and say, hey, man, what's up? What's going on, man? How you been? How you doing? Without them looking at you like, I don't know you. What you talking to me for? You ain't my brother. I don't know you. And then it escalates. Next thing you know, you got two of our people out there throwing fists at each other, getting out of hand, getting crazy because of that hatred towards one another. We've utterly corrupted ourselves. You can't even go to Walmart. You can't go to the grocery store. You might accidentally bump into somebody and they want to, man, you bumping into me for? Watch where you're going. You may even say, oh, sorry, excuse me. And yeah, excuse you. And, want to fight over dumb stuff. You stepped on my shoes. You looked at me wrong. Why you mad dogging? I don't know what they call it today. I know that's what they called it back in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up in the 80s. It was like, why you mad dogging me? What's wrong with you? Why are you looking at me sideways? You could have, it could have been a bee or something landed on their shoulder and you're about to tell them, like, man, there's a bee on you. There's a spider just fell on you, or, you know what I mean? Anything. But before you can get it out, what you looking at me for? Something wrong with you? You know what I mean? It's just crazy that we can't even get along with each other. No love, no peace. No loving communication among our people. No words seasoned with salt, as we went over in the last lesson. But we were warned, we were told over and over again, through the words of the Most High in the Bible, and we just watched the video of Dolores Tucker that was warning our people about allowing our people to listen to this music and allowing it to be distributed. You had leaders back in the day that were warning our people about these things. But as we read earlier, the Lord said we're a stiff-necked people, in which we are. We are a very stiff-necked people, that we don't want to hear the commandments of the Most High. We don't want to learn the commandments. We don't care about the commandments. We don't care about the law. Our people love to put on a show. They love to have a form of godliness, but in works, we deny the Most High. We deny him. Let's go to Exodus 20 and 13.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 13. And it says, thou shalt not kill.
And that's straight to the point, right? Thou shalt not kill. Short, 4 words, simple, but straight to the point. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill. So what has happened to Israel that there is so much murder and killing going on among us? What is going on? It's so important that he had to repeat the 10 commandments to our people in Deuteronomy 5. Let's go to Deuteronomy 5 and 17. Again, repeating exactly what he said in Exodus 20 and 13. Short, simple, straight to the point.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 5 and verse 17. Thou shalt not kill.
Thou shalt not kill. Not to, and don't get it twisted, there was murder and killing going on well before now. This stuff's been going on all the way back to the garden with Adam and Eve, when the first murder happened. That people have not kept the commandments, especially commandment 6. Thou shalt not kill. Cain killed his own brother. In fact, let's go to Genesis 4. Go to Genesis 4 and 1 and read through verse 8. Through verse 8.
The book of Genesis, chapter 4 and verse 1. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord respected unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth, and why thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and he slew him.
So he killed his own brother. Why? Because Abel listened to the Most High and Cain didn't. And you have some people that teach Genesis 4 saying that the reason why the Most High accepted Abel's offering and not Cain's is because Abel brought the sheep and brought the animals like he was supposed to, and Cain brought fruit. So Cain didn't bring the right the right offering. That's not what happened. There's more to the story. Cain, as it tells you, was a tiller of the ground. He was a farmer. He farmed the ground. That's what he did. Abel, what did he do? He was a keeper of sheep. He kept animals. So they were supposed to bring the best of their animal for Abel, and Cain was to bring the best of his crops. Abel did what he was supposed to. He brought the best of his sheep. But Cain didn't. Cain was just like, you know what, man, I'm just going to take whatever that over there is rotted out. I don't care. I'm taking it. That's what happened. And the Most High was not pleased with what Cain brought. And then Cain had the nerve to try and get upset and get mad. He got angry, and he got so mad to the point to where his pride was hurt. Then he let the envy come in, because now he envied his brother because his brother was accepted and he wasn't. And what did he do? He turned around and killed his own brother. Turned around and killed his own brother. And we see all of that stuff still going on today. That was all the way back then in the garden. And we still have brothers killing brothers today. But nobody really says much about it. I'll give you some examples. So give me a second. Nothing's changed. There's nothing new under the sun. Just give me 1 second.
First, a DeKalb County teenager in jail tonight, charges in the death. A teenager in jail tonight facing murder charges in the death of his own brother.
Yeah, police say 18-year-old Deshaun Hayes shot and killed.
Can you see it?
Yep.
All right.
DeKalb County teenager in jail tonight facing murder charge in the death of his own brother.
Yeah, police say 18-year-old Deshaun Hayes shot and killed his brother, 17-year-old Corinthian Hayes, during a fight last night. 11 Alive's Naima Abdullahi, she's been following this story all day and is bringing us the latest details.
Just days before Christmas, a mother in Decatur now has to bury her child and see her other son locked up behind bars, charged with murder for killing his sibling.
It was pretty loud. I heard 3 shots. Like, for it to be back there, I heard it. I did see all the little police lights out here, and I didn't know what was going on.
Neighbors say they heard gunshots around 8 p.m. Wednesday coming from this apartment at the Richstone Townhomes in Decatur. Police arrived and found 17-year-old Corinthian Hayes has been shot by his older brother, 18-year-old Deshaun Hayes.
And they found a 17-year-old male who was dead from a gunshot wound.
The parents were not home at the time, but a younger sibling was. Neighbors wondering why the teen was shot.
Like, were they playing or was it on purpose? Like, it was just shocking.
We believe that there may have been some sort of dispute between the two brothers, and somewhere during that time, the older brother shot the younger brother.
Neighbors tell me they've had concerns before in that community, telling me they've heard gunshots before, but they say this situation, this incident is disturbing and heartbreaking, considering a 17-year-old lost his life right before Christmas.
You hear gunshots around here. It's crazy that the mother has to bury her own child right before the holiday and right before Christmas.
But they're disturbed that a family now has to spend the holidays grieving over a tragic loss. Naima Abdullahi, 11 Alive News.
All right, I'm getting another one. Hold on. Hold up. Let me see.
Well, a crime alert right now that police really want you to know about. Officers in Fort Lauderdale are looking for a stabber who attacked his own brother. Local 10 News reporter Sanella Sabovic is in Fort Lauderdale with the details.
Candles line the sidewalk here in Fort Lauderdale where a man was killed on Independence Day. Fort Lauderdale police say the alleged killer was the victim's very own brother. Police are on the hunt for this man, 41-year-old Corey Lamar Butler. They say he fatally stabbed his younger brother, Travis Dion Butler, on the 4th of July. The pair allegedly were arguing outside a home along the 2500 block of Northwest 28th Terrace. When police say Travis tried to end the argument and went inside the home. It was at that point that Corey followed him, took a knife, and allegedly stabbed him, taking off before police arrived. Neighbors here who didn't want to go on camera say that Travis was stabbed in the neck. It's been 4 days now. Police are actively searching for Corey Butler. They say that he does have a long rap sheet. If you know anything about his whereabouts, you're urged to give police a call, or you can remain anonymous and call Broward County Crime Stoppers. They can be reached at 954-493-TIPS. That's the latest here from Fort Lauderdale. Sanella Sabovic, Local 10 News.
This is Lumen, the first device for hacking your metabolism. With just one breath, Lumen tells you what you're currently burning for energy, carbs, or body fat. So you can see what's going on with your metabolism in real time. And
I don't know why this thing is so slow. There's another one. And you can, see this stuff all over YouTube, all over the news. It's still happening today.
Breaking
brothers
news now.
killing
The
brothers.
hunt is over for an overnight murder suspect. Police tells Cameron Ross just surrendered. And News Channel 5's Dan Kennedy is live at the home on Pierpont Drive, where it happened early this morning. And Dan, you witnessed him turn himself in. You have some amazing video to show us.
Yeah, Amy, as a matter of fact, I was sitting over here in a live truck at the very end of the street over on Pierpont Drive at about 5:20 this morning when the accused murderer, Cameron Ross, came walking up the street. He wasn't wearing a shirt but had a jacket on. I recognized the face and started following him as he made his way up to the house where police say just earlier this morning he shot and killed his brother. It was in this driveway that Cameron Ross then got down on his knees, put his hands in the air, and surrendered to police who were standing just about 15 feet away in this driveway like they are now. Cameron Ross was arrested without incident and is now on his way to the North Police Precinct for further questioning. Police believe he's the man responsible for shooting and killing his own brother inside this home at about 1:30 this morning. And the video you're looking at now is video of Ross surrendering to detectives a little less than an hour ago. He had been on the run for close to 4 hours in this residential area of North Nashville. Police still looking for a motive. They say it was potentially an argument that erupted inside this home that the brothers shared with their mother at about 1:30 this morning when those shots were fired and Ross's brother was shot and killed inside. It was the mother who called 911 to report that her son shot her other son. He was pronounced dead inside this home when police arrived. And detectives have been out here on the scene for several hours now, though they are wrapping up their investigation here. They should be going back to the North Police Precinct very shortly, Adam and Amy. That's where the suspect is at this hour for a little further questioning. We expect those criminal homicide charges to come down a little later this morning. If you want to see the full video of us confronting the accused killer as he made his way up to detectives, I posted that on my Facebook and Twitter pages at NC5 Dan Kennedy. Reporting live in North Nashville, Dane Kennedy, News Channel 5.
And I'll give you one more. This one right here is actually heartbreaking. This is crazy. You can still see it, right?
Yeah.
Coverage of Colorado
Okay.
continues now, taking us to a tragic story in the Springs, where two young kids are stabbed to death in their own home, and the suspect is their brother. Their father also attacked, trying to stop his son. He survived.
And we're learning more about the young man accused in these stabbings. This home is located in the 900 block of Carlisle in Colorado Springs. That's west of I-25. Our Jamie Leary live tonight in that neighborhood. Jamie, a shock to people who live nearby.
And it's leaving them wondering why. Police have left the home and the family has since returned. People have been coming all day to drop off gifts and condolences. You can see stuffed animals and flowers sitting outside of the home. Now, arrest documents suggest that Malik Murphy was very disturbed. He told police that he bought a knife at Walmart, and it was at that point that he decided to kill his family so he could be alone in this house. Neighbors on the small block say they never saw it coming.
Shock. It's what the hell was going on in that poor kid's head that would make him do something like this?
Heartbroken neighbors say it was just yesterday they saw the family together and happy.
All four of them were actually outside playing football in the yard, just having a good old time.
Seeing all the kids out there in the front yard playing football with their dad and everything. Normal family stuff.
David Sharrock lives across the street, and he said there was never any sign something was wrong.
Throwing the frisbee, throwing the football, always playing with mom and dad.
Others even saw 19-year-old Malik, the eldest of 5 children, playing outside with them. But his past paints a troubled picture. According to court documents, he had previously talked about killing his entire family. He was also arrested in Illinois earlier this year for setting fire to his parents' car. Just after 1 o'clock this morning, he carried out what he told police were homicidal ideations. Police say the 19-year-old stabbed his 5-year-old sister and 7-year-old brother, as well as his father. The 3 were rushed to the hospital. The children didn't survive.
I can't believe it happened.
The exhausted family returned home this afternoon. Neighbors say they plan to do whatever they can to support them. There is a vigil being held for the family tonight at 6 p.m. at Flanagan Park. The children's school, Thomas Edison Elementary, is providing grief counselors all week for students and staff. Malik Murphy is being held without bond on 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted first-degree murder. Of course, we'll continue to follow the story. Live in Colorado Springs, Jamie Leary, covering Colorado First.
All right, Jamie, thank you.
This drone designed to save.
It's sad. You know what I mean? That our people, this is what we've been reduced to. There's no love of God among our people, no love of self, no love of family, no love of nation, nothing among our people. And we wonder why these things are going on. A person can just go off like that and kill their younger brother and sister, stab their dad, kill your own brother, shoot him. Over what? Over nonsense. And in some of the cases you can see is over nothing. But the first 2 that we watched, you can see what was the same theme. Christmas. And what was the other one? Was it 4th of July they were celebrating?
Mm-hmm.
Why do these things always happen during the time of Esau's holidays? That's another thing our people don't pay attention to. We have utterly corrupted ourselves. And you have leaders in Israel going around saying that there's nothing wrong with the language that people are using. It's crazy. We have got to make sure that we teach our people to love each other. And the only way they're going to do that is they first got to love God. How could you love yourself if you don't even love the Father? You've got no love of the Father in you, but we're expecting people to love themselves and love each other. Let's go to 1 John 3:11.
The book of 1 John, chapter 3 and verse 11.
I'll read through verse 15.
It says, "For this is the message that ye heard from the beginning, that we should love one another, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. And wherefore slew he him? Because his own works were evil, and his brother's righteous. Marvel not, my brethren, if the world hate you. We know that we have passed from death unto life, because we love the brethren. He that loveth not his brother abideth in death. Whosoever hated his brother is a murderer, and you know that no murderer hath eternal life abiding in him."
So he's telling us this is the message we heard from the very beginning. What was that message we heard from the beginning? That we should love one another. But how can we love one another if we don't even love the Most High? And we know that loving the Most High is the keeping of his commandments. We have to teach our people the commandments. We have to first teach them how to love God, and then they'll be able to love themselves. And then once they can love themselves, then you can love your brother and love one another. But it's going to take the teaching and the keeping of the commandments in order to change our people, in order to get rid of this plague that's plaguing our people, this violence, which is being taught to our people and perpetuated through the video games, the music, the movies, TV shows, the internet, and just everyday life. We've got to get rid of it. It says, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one and slew his brother. Because Cain didn't have any love for his brother. Just like the videos we just watched. The people that just killed their brothers, that killed the little brother and sister. They were able to do that because, number one, they didn't have any love of God. They had no love of self. They had no love of family. And they had no control over their actions. And their works were evil. As it says in the next sentence, and wherefore slew he him. He's like, so why did he slay him? Why did he kill him? Because his own works were evil and his brother's righteous. He had that jealousy, that envy of his brother because his brother's works were righteous and his works were evil. And we're continuing to see that in Israel. We're continually seeing that among our people. He says, marvel not, my brethren, if the world hate you. Don't be shocked. Don't be surprised if the world hate you. Why shouldn't we be shocked? They hate us because we're the children of God. They know that God is our God. We're the chosen people. We do everything better than the other nations. God says that we're above all the other nations and the people upon the face of the earth. They hate us because of this. They hate us because we can sing better than them, dance better than them, and so on. Play sports better than them. Marvel not, my brethren, if the world hate you. But they hate us even more now because they see the evil that we're doing. They see that we're the ones out there robbing and killing and stealing mostly. We're the ones out there, perpetuating this thug gangster lifestyle, using the profanity. Not that the other nations are not using it, but we're the ones being cast out there in the media as the ones that are out of control, because we are. We've made it easy. He says, we know that we have passed from death unto life, because we love the brethren. He that loveth not his brother abideth in death. There's a lot of our people, they have no love of their brothers and sisters that are in the body, and don't realize that they're still abiding in death, but yet they call themselves the leaders of Israel.
Right.
You're still living in darkness. Your eyes are closed. You're telling our people that it's nothing wrong with using this communication, with using profane language, knowing that this is one of the very tools that has been used to destroy our people. He says, whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer, and ye know that no murderer hath eternal life abiding in him. There is so much hatred among Israel of our people hating each other, speaking bad about each other. This goes back to Commandment 1. When you go back and watch our video about Commandment 1, as we taught in Commandment 1 based on the scriptures, that you don't have to be somebody to take that knife and plunge it into the heart of your brother. You don't have to shoot him with that gun. You don't have to choke him out in order to be a murderer. You don't have to physically take their life in order to be a murderer. Just your thoughts of hatred and evil towards your brother makes you a murderer already. You're already a murderer. And what does he say? And ye know that no murderer hath eternal life abiding in him. That was one of the first precepts we pulled at the beginning of the lesson, Matthew 19. Christ was asked, what do I have to do in order to inherit eternal life? And Christ's response was, keep the commandments. And one of Christ's commandments that he named, the very first one, is thou shalt not kill, or thou shalt do no murder. We've got to change the mindsets of our people and get this idolatrous, murderous mindset out of our people. That's the only way we are going to change our people, is through the commandments. Stop boasting about keeping the commandments. Stop boasting that you're teaching them when you're not. You may open up the book and read the words off the page, but it does no good if you're not being an example to our people and keeping them. What kind of example are you setting for our people when you're using the very language that our enemies have used to destroy us? It makes no sense at all. None. You may say, well, I'm not going out there shooting nobody. Who have I killed? Who have I stabbed? We ain't hung nobody. It's all the same. Your words, your thoughts have made you a murderer already, has shown that you're corrupt already, has shown that you don't keep the commandments. Let's go to Exodus 2:11. Now we're going to see an example. I forgot to switch that. So we just went over 1 John chapter 3 and verse 11 through 15.
Right.
So Exodus 2:11 through 14.
The book of Exodus, chapter 2 and verse 11. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown that he went out unto his brethren, and he looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrew strove together, and he said to him, that did the wrong, wherefore smite thou thy fellow? And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intent thou to kill me as thou killed the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known.
So, was Moses wrong in what he did by killing the Egyptian? That's the question. Obviously, he did something wrong. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had to flee. He saw the Egyptian, hitting on one of his brothers. This is an example of one of our forefathers having so much love for his people that he came to the defense of one of his brothers that was being done wrong by an Egyptian. But he took it over. He went overboard. The Egyptian wasn't trying to kill the Hebrew brother. He was hitting him, trying to maybe punish him to get him to work harder or something. But he wasn't trying to kill. His intent wasn't trying to kill the Hebrew brother. So Moses didn't have to kill him. He could have, used the same amount of force to get him to stop hitting his brother as the man was using against his brother and left it at that. But he went overboard and killed the man, which wasn't warranted. So there's two lessons that you can get from that. The first one is, yes, he came to the defense of his brother. He had enough love for his brother that he came to his defense and protected him. You don't see that anymore. You don't see that. Moses put his life on the line for his brother because once he didn't know, the other Roman soldiers could have seen him attack that soldier. They all could have came and jumped him. But he didn't think about that. He saw his brother getting done wrong, and he immediately came to action. This is that mindset that's missing from our people today, because we could think of a recent incident that happened that instead of being like Moses and our people coming to defense of one of their brothers, out of fear, they sat back. And I'm talking about the incident of George Floyd. How many people, how many of his brothers were standing there watching while that police officer had his knee in the neck of George Floyd for almost 9 minutes? And all they did was sat back and pleaded, get your knee off his neck. Come on, man, you're killing him. All because they were afraid of the police. That's what kind of fear Esau's police forces have put into our people. That they will just sit back and sit by and watch one of their brothers die under the knee of one of these officers, instead of rushing that officer and tackling that officer, doing whatever you can to pull that officer off of that brother and deal with the consequences later, like Moses did. I'm going to save my brother's life, even if that means I got to get arrested and go to jail along with him. But I'm not going to sit here and let you kill my brother. He didn't have to go. Now, you don't have to go running up and grab the cop's gun and try and shoot the cop.
Right.
Now you're going to get in with Esau's police force. You're going to get beat down. That's a given. You know that's going to happen. The moment you go and grab that cop, you know you're going to get it. But nobody did anything. There's no Moses among our people anymore, because the George Floyd incident isn't the only incident that's happened. It's going on all over the country, where the police roll up, they take one of our brothers down, they draw guns on, whatever the case is, they're beating on them. And instead of stepping in and helping, our people pull out the cell phone and start filming. Exact same thing they did with George Floyd. Now, mind you, we wouldn't have seen what happened to George Floyd if there wasn't a video. But at the same time, instead of stepping in and helping, you pull out your cell phone and start filming. There are no Moseses among our people anymore, because our people don't understand the Bible. Our people have not been taught our history, our true history, and how our people had so much love for the brethren that they were willing to put their lives on the line for them, to stand up for them. We don't see that anymore. We just don't see it. But yet you've got people out here teaching our people that the commandments are done away with, that this Bible is null and void. Why are you even holding church? If the law's done away with and the commandments done away with, why are you even saying you're a pastor? Why are you even saying you're a teacher of God? Why do you have the Bible? If that's the case, put the Bible away and grab an Anthony Robbins book and teach that in your church, because that's all you're doing is giving a motivational speech. You're just teaching a motivational seminar in the churches now. So you might as well just go get an Anthony Robbins book and let that be your gospel. I'm serious. It's you got to ask yourself the question, why do they even have the Bible in their hands if they're not going to teach it? Not teaching the commandments of God is the reason that we have all the violence in the world. There's a lot that our people can learn from the commandments. The sixth commandment, thou shalt not kill, goes a lot deeper than what people realize and understand. They have no idea because it's not being taught to them. Let's go to Exodus 21 and verse 12.
The book of Exodus, chapter 21 and verse 12. He that smiteth a man so that he die shall be surely put to death.
Now, do you see anything wrong with that commandment? Because let Creflo Dollar tell it, we shouldn't have no dealings with the law, even the Big Ten. The word smite means to hit, to strike, or to punch. Have you heard this in church? Have you ever heard a pastor open up the Bible and go to Exodus 21 and 12 and teach our people that it's not okay to punch somebody or to strike somebody or to hit them? This is not being taught in the church. And then you wonder why people are going around hitting on each other, wanting to fight all the time. Because you've got people like Creflo Dollar saying that we should have no dealings with the law, not even the Big Ten, where the law, the commandment says, he that smiteth the man so that he die shall be surely put to death. We'll give you a couple of examples of that happening today. Hold on one second. Well, we're going to go through quite a few videos in this lesson just to illustrate what is going on. Give me one second. Yeah, let me know when you can see it.
There it is.
Now, this is a news article going to read. It says, elderly man dies after being punched by Dunkin' employee over racial slur in Tampa, Florida. Now, this is from 2021, about a year ago. It says, an elderly man died after being punched in the face by a Dunkin' employee over a racial slur last week, Tampa police say. On May 5 or May 5th at about 1:30 p.m., a 77-year-old man went through the Dunkin' drive-thru located at 410 South 50th Street in Tampa. Police say the man became upset due to a lack of service he was receiving and was asked to leave by employees. The man reportedly parked the car and entered the store and began arguing with employee Corey Pujols. Police say the man called Pujols a racial slur, and Pujols challenged the victim to repeat the slur, which is something our people would do all the time. You know, say it again. I dare you. Say it again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it says the man reportedly did repeat the slur, and that's when Pujols punched him in the jaw. This knocked the victim out, and he fell to the floor with his head hitting the floor. That's what people don't understand. It doesn't take much to cause somebody's death. You may think that that one slap or that punch may not do much to somebody, but a 70-something-year-old man, first of all, you don't know what could happen. That's why we've got to learn how to use constraint or restraint. We've got to learn to control our actions. So the man fell to the floor and hit his head. Says the man was taken to the hospital and passed away 2 days later. Pujols was arrested and charged with aggravated manslaughter of an elderly adult. All because what? Somebody called him a name. Big whoop-de-doo. I was called a nigga every day growing up as a kid. Had to learn how to restrain myself. Because if you constantly indulge yourself, you're not gonna be able to have a day where you have any kind of any rest at all. Give me 1 second. All right, gonna open up another link. So here's another situation. Says teen dies after being sucker punched by middle school classmate. This one's from 2019. And there are a lot of up-to-date videos, but these are the ones that really caught my attention as I was going through looking for articles. You can see it still, right?
Yep.
I don't know why my internet is suddenly going so slow. All right, so they're not showing the rest of the video where he actually got hit. All right, so let's read the headline. It says a 13-year-old boy died after getting his head knocked against a cement pillar during a nasty beatdown by two other teenagers at his California middle school, authorities said Wednesday. Cell phone footage of the September 16 attack at Moreno Valley Landmark Middle School shows the boy, identified as Diego, being hit in the face by one student and then sucker punched on the side of the head by another. The second blow sends him falling to the ground, his head hitting a pillar on the way down, according to the clip obtained by KTLA 5. The first attacker can be seen hurrying over to punch Diego again while he's on the ground. Classmates told the outlet that Diego had been bullied at school and on social media. He was pronounced clinically dead on Tuesday night as a result of injuries sustained in the attack, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department said Wednesday. The two other boys, both also 13, were charged with suspicion of assault likely to produce great bodily injury in connection with the attack and remained at Riverside County Juvenile Hall. Officials didn't say if charges against him would be increased since Diego's death. School administrators said the two students arrested didn't have any previous behavior problems and were honor students. The incident prompted outrage from parents about bullying at the school. So you can see, even nowadays, even your so-called good behaved students, honor students, are still being corrupted by the foolishness that's on TV and these video games, on the internet, and so on. It says this is a life-changing tragedy for everyone involved, which is absolutely true. You got a kid who's lost his life. He's not around anymore. His parents' lives have been changed because they don't have their son. These other two kids' lives have been changed because they're going to spend Lord knows how long in juvenile detention. Their parents' lives have been changed because now, instead of being able to watch their kids grow up, go through school, graduate, maybe go off to college or whatever their plans for the future may be, all gone because of one incident, because they were not taught the commandments of God that says, he that smiteth the man so that he die shall be surely put to death. They weren't taught that commandment. They weren't taught that law in church, or by anyone for that matter in their family, because they haven't read the Bible, didn't teach them that they were Israelites. Let me read on. The school district expressed its condolences to the victim's family for the devastating loss. It said in a statement, as we mourn together, we also want to come together to find solutions and to take the necessary steps so that tragic incidents like this do not happen again. What necessary steps? What necessary steps are you going to take so that these things don't happen anymore? The main step you should be taking is teaching the Bible, teaching the commandments of God. But if you're not going to do that, everything else you're saying is just smoke and mirrors. It doesn't mean anything. It says the family is planning on donating Diego's organs to transform this tragedy into the gift of life for other children, the sheriff's department said. A vigil for Diego will be held at the school on Wednesday evening. So now what do you have? You've got Israelite children fighting each other because they, number one, they don't know that they're both Israelites. They don't know that they're the same people. They have no idea that they're brothers. That's the first thing. The second thing, they haven't been taught Exodus 21:12. That says, he that smiteth the man so that he die shall be surely put to death. We should be constantly trying to teach the kids that if you better be careful about punching somebody, about hitting somebody, because you may hit somebody the wrong way and cause them to die, and you're going to ruin your future. You're going to ruin your life. Not only your life, but you're going to ruin that other kid's life and their family's lives. There's going to be a whole string of I can't even think of the word right now, incidents, occurrences that are going to happen if that person dies after you hit them, after you strike them. You need to think real hard before you lay your hands on somebody. I remember the one time we were out there teaching, and this dude went off and got right up in my face to where his spit was like right in my face, saying how he was gonna beat my, you know what, and kick my and you was like, man, I don't see how you was able to stay control with that dude right there in your face like that. And it
Right.
was just like, it's just from years and years of training that it doesn't matter what anybody says, just don't touch me. You can talk all you want. Talk, 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 talk. Just don't put your hands on me. The moment you touch me, it's over. I'm going to defend myself. But until then, I'm going to have full restraint until the time comes to where there's no more restraint. There's no more restraining yourself. We've got to teach our people this. We've got to teach our people the commandments. We've got to teach people how to control their emotions no matter what anybody is saying to them. Defending yourself is different, but you only defend yourself to the point to where that person is no longer a threat to you. You only use that force which is reasonable and necessary to defend your life or the life of someone else. Once that threat is taken away, that's it. It's over. People don't know how to gauge. They don't know how to engage properly because they're not being taught. It's from 0 to 100 with our people. No in between. Lose all sense of morality, all sense of control of themselves. And next thing you know, somebody's dead. Let's go to Exodus 21 and 14.
Book of Exodus, chapter 21, verse 14. But if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, that thou shalt take him from mine altar, that he may die.
So he says, but if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor, this is called premeditated murder. You've already planned this thing out. Somebody may have wronged you. They may have said something to you. Guys may have some kind of a dispute. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to get him when nobody knows me. And you start planning it out. I'm going to dress up in all black. I'm going to go to his house. I'm going to go through the back door. I'm going to knock in his, whatever the case is, you plan this thing out. Or you may even try and lure them, make them think, you know what? I'm not mad at you, bro. You know what, man? Let's go out tonight. Let's go hash this thing out. Let's go sit down over a couple of brewskis. Meet me at the bar. We'll talk. But in reality, they're thinking about they're going to get this dude drunk so that they could go out and kill him. You have situations nowadays where, one kid may lure another kid out, like, hey, you know what, man, we're going to have a party out here and, in the sticks or wherever at the park, you want to go tonight. And they trick the kid into going. The next thing you know, they're getting jumped and getting killed. Adults do it too. It says, but if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from mine altar that he may die. That's the penalty. You set your brother up using lies to trick him into going out, trick him into letting his guard down, and then you jump on him and kill him. That's it. But according to Creflo Dollar, we shouldn't have anything to do with this commandment. We should have nothing to do with it, according to him and all these pastors that are teaching that the law is done away with. You see anything wrong with this commandment? Let's get an example of it for today. me a second. I think this is a news article. It's not a video. All right, let me share again. Let me know when you can see it.
There it is.
All right. So this is a story from Newsweek. This was from 2018. It says suspected MS-13 gang members use 14-year-old girl to lure man to his death, police say. So you got some of these gang members, you know what I mean? They'll use these young girls, and it happens a lot. You had a recent episode of this happening where another girl, I think this was in the Bronx, where she was used. It was actually her own boyfriend to lure this other kid out, and they, I guess, robbed him. Called his brother on the phone and told his brother that, you know, if you don't give us X amount of money, we're going to kill your brother. And, you know, it was a whole big old thing that happened. And I think that just happened, I think maybe a month or two ago. But let's read this. It says, suspected members of the vicious MS-13 gang allegedly used a 14-year-old girl to lure a man to a Queens bird sanctuary where he was killed. The body of 23-year-old Ian Cruz was found in Bayswater Point State Park on December 16th, WPIX reported. Court documents revealed Cruz was found partially naked, with only blue underwear and white socks on, with gunshot wounds to his head. Authorities arrested 5 people in connection to Cruz's death, including a 14-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy. The 2 teens, along with 18-year-old Carlos Guerra and 22-year-old Jonathan Sanchez, were charged with second-degree murder and criminal possession of a weapon. Another 18-year-old male identified as Elmer Gutierrez was also arrested and faces a charge for criminal possession of a weapon. Prosecutors said that surveillance video and some of the suspects revealed that Cruz had been shot several times in the head with the .22 caliber gun, according to the New York Times. A criminal complaint did not reveal the motive behind the killing or identify who shot Cruz. The teenage girl allegedly messaged Cruz online and lured him with promises of sex at the bird sanctuary, according to the New York Post. Investigators reportedly believe that the same tactic was used to lure and kill 17-year-old Harold Sermano, a Far Rockaway teen who was found shot to death outside Five Towns Community College on December 18th. Police made the arrest in Far Rockaway and recovered a .22 caliber revolver and more than 900 rounds of ammunition, according to WPIX. Surveillance video at the bird sanctuary connected the suspects to Cruz's killing, police said. Investigators who were investigating whether the slaying was gang-related said it had the markings of an MS-13 style killing, WABC reported. Gary F. Merritt, the attorney representing the 5 suspects during an arraignment on Saturday, said that his clients pleaded not guilty. The 4 suspects charged with murder were being held without bail, but Gutierrez was being held on $500,000 bail. At this time, he maintains his innocence in this matter as to being involved in any shooting or the taking of anybody's life, Merritt said of Gutierrez. The 18-year-old was due back in court on January 15, 2019, according to the New York Times. The violent international street gang MS-13 originated in Los Angeles during the 1980s and is now active on Long Island and in Queens. The FBI estimates that MS-13 has 10,000 members in 40 states. And so we can see that a lot of these gang members are Israelites. How are they being allowed to get caught up in this street life? Because these commandments are not being taught to them as kids. Right. We're not being taught that we're the Israelites of the Bible. We're not being taught that we've got to come back to keeping God's commandments. And in a lot of situations, now that we are being taught that we're the children of the Most High, there are still some of these camps and camp leaders that are not teaching and keeping the commandments. Some of them are still perpetuating this thug life. And you can see it in the way they act, the way they walk, the way they talk. They're still glorifying this. Let's get another one. Let's go to verse 18 through 19. Exodus 21 and 18 through 19. You see, they say the law is done away with. So if the law is done away with, that means that every one of these commandments that we're reading has nothing to do with today's times. That is just utterly done away with. Go ahead and read.
Exodus 21 and verse 18. And if a man strive together.
If men, read that again.
And if men strive together and one smite another with a stone or with his fist, and he die not, but keepeth his bed, if he rise again and walk abroad upon his staff, then shall he that smote him be quit. Only he shall pay for the losses of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed.
So it's saying, and if men strive together, so in other words, they're fighting. To strive means to fight. They're in conflict. It says, and if men strive together and one smite another with a stone or with his fist, because that happens. People are fighting. They're down there on the ground rolling around, and one sees a rock, pick it up. He wants the upper hand and hits the other one with the stone. Or they may not even have engaged yet. The other one just picks up the rock and throws the other one, throws it at the other one, hit him in the head and knocks him out. Now, what it's talking about is he didn't die, but he's messed up. He may have brain damage. He may have passed out, hit his head, and now be in a coma for a while. So you're not guilty of murder, but you're going to have to pay restitution for this person's time off of work, because they may have to, they could be in that coma for a day, a week, a month, a year. You're going to have to pay for that time off that they're not able to work and provide for their family. Why are these things not being taught to our people? The majority of people don't even know that these commandments are in the Bible about picking up a stone or picking up a weapon and hitting somebody with it. Go to verse 20.
Verse 20. And if a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall be surely punished.
So now it's talking about a person. You may have a maid. You read about this stuff all the time. There's always articles that happen like this. Somebody hires a maid, or they hire somebody to come in and work in their home, and they're mistreating them, hitting them, won't feed them. You know what I mean? And in some cases, they get so angry with them that they end up murdering them. Sometimes it's accidental. They don't mean to punish them or hit them as much as they did, or, but something happens, they end up killing them. But he says, and if a man smite his servant or his maid with the rod, and he die under his hand, he shall be surely punished. There's a punishment for that. So if people knew that there is a law in the Bible that says that you're not supposed to strike your servant or your maid, especially causing their death, do you think we'll be seeing as many news stories that happen today of people beating and killing their servants or their maids, or their live-in, what do they call them? Live-in nannies and stuff like that. Housekeepers. But this is the law in the book. This is the law in the Bible that I would say probably 90% of so-called Christians have no idea that it's in the Bible, that it's a part of the commandments, that it's a law, that you're not supposed to be putting your hands on anybody. Drop to verse 22 through 27.
Verse 22. If men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit departed from her, and yet no mischief fellow, he shall be surely punished, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. And if any mischief follow them, thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, and hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe.
Stop right there for a second. So he's saying if men strive, meaning they're fighting, let's say one of the men, his wife is standing nearby, she's pregnant, her belly's showing, they're fighting, they're duking it out, and somehow she gets caught up in the middle. Somebody punches her in the stomach, kicks her in the stomach, knocks her down, and she falls on her stomach, whatever the case is, and causes that baby to die in her stomach. That's what it means, so that her fruit depart from her. Or actually, I'm sorry, not to die, but causes her to go into what do you call it? Can't even think right now. Labor. It causes her to go into labor, and the baby, is born prematurely. So when it says, and yet no mischief follow, that means that the baby doesn't die or the woman doesn't die. It says he shall be surely punished according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. So the husband, he gets to, determine how many stripes he's going to give you, or however, whatever the punishment is. You killed or you hurt my unborn child, or you caused my unborn child to be born prematurely. You got punishment coming. But verse 23 says, and if any mischief follow, meaning that the child dies, then thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe, or stripe for stripe. So now if that baby dies, now the punishment is basically saying you get the same. You're going to get death. You're going to give your life for the life of that child. All right, go ahead and read on.
Verse 26. And if a man smite the eye of his servant, or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake.
So you're mad at your servant. They may have done something wrong. Maybe they broke a dish. They didn't clean the bathroom the way you like, or, didn't do the laundry right. Came up and, why are you not paying me enough? I want to raise, whatever the case is, and you haul off and get mad and punch your maid in the eye, or your servant. Boom. Punch him. Give him a black eye. But you cause so much damage that that eye is no longer of use. They can no longer see out of that eye. The eye is dead. You got to let that servant go free. You got to let him go. That was a law that's on the books. It's in the Bible. Read on.
Verse 27. And if he smite out his maidservant's tooth, or his maidservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake.
So maybe it wasn't the eye. You threw that punch and it hit him in the mouth. You knock out a tooth. Same thing. You got to let them go free. You caused harm to them. Basically, what the Bible is telling us, that you shouldn't be putting your hand on your servant without just cause. It is what it is. But let Creflo Dollar tell you, we should have no dealings with the law or the Big Ten. So that means this one here, we shouldn't have no, go to Leviticus 24:17. According to Creflo Dollar, we shouldn't have no dealings with Leviticus 24:17.
Right. Leviticus 24 and verse 17. And he that killeth any man shall surely be put to death.
So he that killeth any man, if you killed somebody, you committed murder, you broke commandment 6, he says you shall surely be put to death. Now under Christ, you can be forgiven. You can get forgiveness for these sins. But see, the problem is the church nowadays aren't teaching these commandments at all. So our people don't know the commandments, and they don't know the punishment for breaking these commandments because it's never been taught. Go to verse 21, Leviticus 24 and 21.
Leviticus 24 and verse 21. And he that killeth a beast, he shall restore it. And he that killeth a man, he shall be put to death.
So that was a law in the books. You kill somebody's cat, their dog, or even back then, you may end up killing their goat, their ox, their lamb, whatever it may be, their sheep. You kill one of their animals, you have to restore it. You have to replace it with something of equal value with another animal. You kill their goat, you got to replace it with a goat. If it was a goat that was perfect without blemish, you need to restore a goat that's perfect without blemish to them. You can't just go and grab any old goat and be like, here, take this one. Yeah, it looks all ragged and all tore up, but oh well, so what? Here, take it. You can't do that. But he says, and he that killeth the beast, he shall restore it. And he that killeth the man, he shall be put to death. Same thing again, reiterating the same thing. The punishment for committing murder for breaking commandment 6 was death. But let these Christian pastors tell it, we should have no dealings with these commandments, with these laws. That's the reason why we're having so much problems with Israel today in modern times, because they don't know that this is in the Bible. Let's go to Numbers chapter 35 and verse 11.
The book of Numbers, chapter 35 and verse 11. It says, then ye shall appoint you cities to be cities and refuge for you, that the slayer may flee thither, which killeth any person at unawareness.
Read it one more time. Read it clear.
Right, unawares. Verse 12. And they shall be unto you cities.
No, read verse 11 again.
Verse 11. Verse 11. Then ye shall appoint you cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the slayer may flee thither, which killeth any person at unawares.
So there were certain cities that were set up in Israel that if you killed somebody, especially by accident, you were able to flee to that city. It was like a sanctuary city. And you were able to abide in that city so that you could save your life. The revenger of refuge, or revenger of, I can't remember how they put it. We're going to read about it. I don't want to mess it up. But there was a person that was set up to go out, and it's almost like a U.S. Marshal today. They go out and they seek out and they hunt out these criminals. And if they catch you, they could kill you. If you committed a crime, you committed a murder, you killed somebody, then they were allowed to find you, seek you out, hunt you down, and kill you. But if you made it to this city of refuge, then they couldn't touch you. All right, so we're going to read about that. Let's go to verse 15.
Verse 15. These 6 cities shall be a refuge, both for the children of Israel and for the stranger. And for the sojourner among them, that every one that killed any person unawares may flee therein.
So may flee thither. So these 6 cities shall be a refuge. So they were a city of refuge, kind of like what they call San Francisco today. They call it a sanctuary city. Come to San Francisco. You come here, you can commit all the crime you want, basically, is what they're trying to do. You can take drugs. You can be homeless and do, defecate on the sidewalks. You can walk around drunk. You can break in the stores. You can do whatever you want here. You know what I mean? So that's what these cities basically were kind of not going to that extent what America is doing today. But you had a sanctuary city that if you accidentally kill somebody, there was a place that you could go and hide so that you wouldn't have to be killed. All right. Let's go to verse 16. You're going to read 16 through 34.
Verse 16. And if he smite him with an instrument of iron so that he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. And if he smite him with a throwing a stone wherewith he may die, and he died, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. Or if he smite him with an hand weapon of wood, wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. The revenger of blood, he himself shall slay the murderer. When he meeteth him, he shall slay him. But if he thrust him of hatred or hurl at him by laying of wait that he die, or in enmity, or in enmity smite him with his hand, and he died, he that smote him shall surely be put to death, for he is a murderer. The revenger of blood shall slay the murderer when he meeteth him. But if he thrust him suddenly without enmity, or have cast upon him anything without laying of wait, or with any stone wherewith a man may die, seeing him not, and cast it upon him that he die, and was not his enemy, neither sought his harm, then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the revenger of blood according to these judgments. And the congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hand of the revenger of blood, and the congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge, whither he was fled, and he shall abide in it unto the death of the high priest, which was anointed with the holy oil. But if the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of his refuge, whither he was fled.
So if you leave that city, let me cut in real quick. If you leave that city, once you entered, then it's null and void. It's open season on you. So it's almost like one of that. Maybe that's why our people still have that in their spirit. You're out your hood. You're walking in the wrong hood, and somebody's like, "Man, what you doing over here? This our hood. What you doing here? You need to stay in your own hood." And now you get killed. It's almost like the same thing. You are supposed to stay in that city of refuge. So that revenger of blood, now it's open season. You got caught outside your hood. You got caught outside the city. So now he can go ahead and dish out that punishment that you should have gotten for the killing that you did. Go ahead and read.
But if the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of his refuge, whither he was fled, and the revenger of blood find him without the borders of the city of his refuge, and the revenger of blood kill the slayer, he shall not be guilty of blood.
So he's not guilty. If he catch you outside the city and he kill you, God's saying, you know what? He's justified. Go ahead and read on.
Because he should have remained in the city of his refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the slayer shall return into the land of his possession.
So you had to wait until the death of the high priest, however long that would take. If the high priest was old, it was more than likely you weren't going to have to stay there that long. But if the high priest started at a young age, you could be waiting for a long time. All right, go ahead and read.
So these things shall be for a statute of judgment unto you throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Whoso killeth any person, the murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. But one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die.
So this is heavy right here because we still see this in Israel today. People are making unfounded accusations about from one camp or camp leader or camp member to another without no evidence and going by the mouth or the words or the witness of one person. But God says, whoso killeth any person, the murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. But one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die. It's not like here in America. All it takes is one accusation about anything, and people will believe it and run with it. The Most High says, no, you need more than one witness. One person can't just come up and be like, hey, you know what? I know he killed somebody. He killed so-and-so. And then everybody jumps on the bandwagon and starts running with it on social media. It's crazy. That shouldn't be happening. Why is it happening? Because we don't know the laws of God. We don't know that this is a law, that this is a commandment. But this is a law that Creflo Dollar says we should have nothing to do with. Go ahead and read.
Moreover, ye shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death, but he shall be surely put to death.
But you see that today. You see the family members that say their family member got murdered. The person got caught. They put on death row and their execution is coming up. And you see the family all on the news. Man, I can't wait for him to get his. Can't wait for that. He killed our so-and-so. So now it's his time to die. I can't wait to see it. Now he's going to get what's coming to him. And then they get to go watch the person's, death. They get to go see the execution, and they're sitting there, gloating, after he's executed. They come out, they interview him on the news, and yeah, how do you feel now? I'm satisfied. I'm very, very glad, very happy to see that, we're not supposed to do that. He says, moreover, you shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death. But he shall be surely put to death. Like, don't get me wrong, he's going to get put to death. But don't take any satisfaction in it. But why is this happening? Because people are not being taught the law. Go ahead and read on.
Verse 32, and ye shall take no satisfaction for him that is fled to the city of his refuge, that he should come again to dwell in the land until the death of the priest.
So when they runs into that city of refuge, you shouldn't be sitting around saying, man, I hope he come back. And man, I hope he come back. I hope I see him in Jerusalem again. I can't wait, man. When I see him, isn't that how Israel is today? Man, that fool better not come in our hood again. If I see him in the hood again, man, I can't, it's going to be him. That's how our people are. Right. Our people are out of their minds, man. But he's saying, don't do that. Don't be sitting around hoping to see him, come out of that city of refuge just so you can kill him and dish that punishment on him, or so the revenger of blood can get him. Go ahead and read on.
So ye shall not pollute the land whither ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it.
So that's why Esau got to die. Because Esau has polluted the land. This land belonged to our people. This land belonged to the Northern Kingdom, the so-called Hispanics and Native Americans. Our brothers owned this land. It was given to them by the Most High. And you had another nation, the Edomites, come in and they've defiled the land. They're over there defiling Jerusalem as we speak. It's defiled with what? With the blood of the saints of the Most High. And it cannot be cleansed but by the blood of him that polluted it. He that leadeth into captivity must go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. They have to go because of how they polluted this land that they call America, which is Babylon the Great. But you will have some of our brothers that will swear up and down that they're not Israelites, that it's Negro only, that the only Israelites were all Negro. Actually, I have a question. If that's the case, that Israel was all Negro, then that means that we've got to stop taking the credit for being the best dancers, for being the people that had the most influence over the dances and over the music in today's times. Because who is the greatest entertainer in the world? Michael Jackson, right? Michael Jackson was the greatest, and the Jacksons, they were the greatest entertainers that have been on the earth as far as we know. Now I got to ask you the question, because I can guarantee you, if you were to ask any of these people that teach Negro only, if Michael Jackson was an Israelite, they would swear up and down and say yes. But according to their teachings, Michael Jackson is not an Israelite. Michael Jackson would be an Asian, and the whole Jackson family. Am I right? Because Michael Jackson's family bloodline goes back to the Native Americans, not Judah. Some people don't know that. They don't realize that. Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 and Janet Jackson and Rebe Jackson and LaToya Jackson, their bloodline on their father's side, old Joe, goes back, I believe is like 4 generations. There's like their great grandfather, or there might be one more great in there, was a full-blooded Native American. And he married a so-called African slave woman, and they had kids, and those kids grew up and they had kids, and those kids grew up and they had kids, going all the way to Joe Jackson. I believe it's 4 generations they went back to find this. Joseph Jackson, the father, the patriarch of the Jackson family, would be considered, because we go by the blood of the father, a full-blood Native American. Not full blood as in, of course it was mixed in because the great grandfather married a slave. But going by the seed of the father, he would be a Native American. So according to these Negro only camps out there that are teaching, Michael Jackson and the Jacksons are not Israelites. So they're heathen. So we can't take credit for, because isn't that what we say?
Right.
Michael Jackson, he did everything to uplift black music. We can't say that because he's not black, or so-called black, according to their teaching. He's a heathen. He's an Asian. And you can go back because they have a picture of the great grandfather. And Joe Jackson, actually, the oldest brother, what's his name? Jackie Jackson looks just like the great, 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 great grandfather that was Native American. He looks just like him. Splitting image. So that Negro only teaching needs to be tossed out.
Right.
It needs to be gone, because look at me. I'm almost the same complexion as Ezra.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Because my mom is what they called high yellow back in the day. She's yellow. She's the same color as Beyonce or Beyonce's mother. High yellow. My father is dark, crispy black, dark, what they would call it. But I just so happened took after my mom. But in the summertime, when I'm out there on the streets, or whatever it was, whether it was sports, out there working out in the sun, yeah, I get crispy black dark during the summer. Real dark. But outside of being in the sun during the wintertime and being inside, and I lighten right back up. So would that mean because my mother is not dark skinned? Yes, her father is fully black. If you look at her brothers and sisters, almost all of them don't look alike. Some of them, actually, you could probably say, I have one uncle that looks like Muhammad Ali. You take his picture when he's young and put him next to Ali's picture when he was young, they look just alike. Some of them are light skinned, some of them are dark. You can't go by the complexion of the skin. When it comes to this, it goes by the seed of the father. It's a nationality thing. But yes, because of mixing, we have Israelites that are going to be blonde haired and blue eyed. It's going to happen. There's no way around it.
Right.
Go to Mexico, go to Central and South America and see how many blonde haired, blue eyed Native Americans and Hispanics are walking around. Blonde hair and green eyes, hazel eyes, gray eyes. It's everywhere. And you're going to look at them and be like, no, there's no way they're an Israelite. And you will be dead wrong. Dead wrong. But let's move on with it. Where were you at? Verse
34.
All right.
So verse 34, it says, defile not therefore the land which ye shall inhabit, wherein I dwell. For I, the Lord, dwell among the children of Israel.
So he warned us, do not defile the land. See, Esau already defiled the land with the blood of the saints of the Most High. But now we're defiling it even more through the works of our own hands, killing each other, so-called black on black crime, so-called black on Hispanic crime, black on Native American crime, Native American on Native American crime, Hispanic on Hispanic crime, or Latino on Latino crime, whatever way you want to call it. Latino on black, Latino on Native, we're killing each other.
Right.
And we're defiling the land, which is the same thing we did back then. All right. Let's go to, but again, let Creflo Dollar tell it. None of these commandments are valid. They're all done away with. Let's go to Deuteronomy 21 and 1 through 7.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 21 and verse 1. If anyone be found slain in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess it, lying in the field, and it be not known who had slain him.
We see that happen a lot in today's time. All of a sudden, there's a field, somebody's walking their dog, they're out jogging, and they happen upon this. They're like, what's that? Go over and up, man, that's a body. There's a dead body laying on the side of the road or highways, found in a river, washed up from the ocean. This stuff is happening like crazy in today's times. But he's telling if somebody be found slain in the land and nobody knows who killed them, what should happen? Read.
Then thy elder and thy judges shall come forth, and they shall measure unto the cities which are round about him that is slain. And it shall be that the city which is next unto the slain man, even the elders of that city shall take a heifer which had not been wroth with, and which had not drawn in the yoke. And the elder of the city shall bring down the heifer unto a rough valley, which is neither air nor sown, and shall strike off the heifer's neck therein in the valley. And the priest, the sons of Levi, shall come near, for then the Lord thy God had chosen to minister unto him, and to bless in the name of the Lord, and by their word shall every controversy and every stroke be tried. And all the elders of that city that are next unto the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer that it beheaded in the valley. And they shall answer and say, our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it.
So it's talking about the city that's nearest. It's that jurisdiction, as we may call it today. Take it out of the hands of this jurisdiction where the body was found, and we're going to go to the nearest jurisdiction or the nearest city, and those elders are going to be the ones that are going to conduct this this offering. All right, is what's going on. Let's go to Deuteronomy 27 and 24 through 25. It's crazy because you hear them say it all the time. The law is done away with. Nobody can keep the law. So you mean to tell me that nobody can keep the law of not punching somebody and killing them, or hitting them with a rock and not killing them?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's crazy.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 27 and verse 24. Cursed be he that smiteth his neighbor secretly, and all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that taketh reward to slay an innocent person, and all the people shall say, Amen.
So according to Creflo Dollar again, we should have no part of this law, right? No part of this commandment. It should be okay for our people to say, you know what, man, I can't stand that fool. You know, I'm gonna wait till tonight when he get off work. I'm gonna wait till he's going to his car, and I'm gonna jump him, man. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna bust the cap in him. However, way they want, our people talk. But the Bible says, cursed be he that smiteth his neighbor secretly, and all the people shall say, Amen. I'm going to take this baseball bat and I'm going to wait for him to walk out that door. I'm going to hit him in the head with it, or I'm going to break his leg. Is that stuff not still going on today? I'm going to make sure it's at night when nobody can see me. I'm going to make sure it's where he's somewhere by himself. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure he's by himself, and then I'm going to get him. Or it could be her. Verse 25 says, cursed be he that taketh reward to slay an innocent person, and all the people shall say, Amen. Do we not still see that stuff going on today? Man, I'll pay you $10,000 if you get rid of this person for me. Like, who you want to get rid of? It could be my wife, my husband. This person, man, he owe me money, man. He don't want to pay me, so he needs to get dealt with. He's supposed to pay me 20 grand. Once you get the money from him, I'll give you 10. Cursed be he that taketh reward to slay an innocent person. You don't even know if this person did what they said he did. You're just going off the word of this person. Oh man, that dude, you know what? He's been messing with my wife, man. I'll pay you 10 grand to take care of him. He don't even know if it's true or not. He didn't walk in and catch them in the midst of doing nothing. He's just suspecting. The person could be innocent, but you're taking reward to go kill this person who may be innocent. The Bible says that person's cursed. This is in the Bible. The Bible deals with all of this stuff. But let the Christian church tell you we should have nothing to do with these commandments. And then people wonder why there's so much murder going on, so much killing, so much deceit, so much hatred. Let's go to Deuteronomy 19 and 1 through 13.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 19 and verse 1. When the Lord thy God had cut off the nations whose land the Lord thy God giveth thee, and thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their cities and in their houses, thou shalt separate thee 3 cities for thee in the midst of thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess it. Thou shalt prepare thee a way and divide the coast of thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee to inherit into the 3 parts, that every slayer may flee thither.
So this is giving us more information about these cities of refuge to run from the revenger of blood. Go ahead and read.
And this is the case of the slayer, which shall flee thither that he may live, who's killeth his neighbor.
Whoso killeth
his neighbor ignorantly, who he hated not in time past. As when a man goeth into the wood with his neighbor to hew wood, and his hand fetcheth a stroke with an axe to cut down the tree, and the head slippeth from the helve and landeth upon his neighbor, that he die, he shall flee unto one of these cities and live.
So this is talking about, this is accidental. You go into the wood to chop down some trees, you go into the woods to go chop down trees. You want to get some wood or what have you. You're bringing the axe up in the air, and one of your brothers walk up in back of you, and the axe head falls off the handle and hits him in the head and kills him. It was an accident. So these cities of refuge are there for you to be able to flee into that city, so that way you don't get killed. Go ahead and read.
It says, lest the avenger of the blood pursue the slayer while his heart is hot, and overtake him, because the way is long, and slay him, whereas he was not worthy of death, inasmuch as he hated him not in time past.
So you had no animosity, you had no hatred for your brother. It was just a pure accident. But he's saying, if the way is too long and that revenger of blood catch up to you, even though you had no hatred towards that brother, is giving commandments as how we're supposed to handle that. Read.
Wherefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt separate these cities for thee.
3 cities?
Yeah. I'm going to read it again. Wherefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt separate 3 cities for thee. And if the Lord thy God enlargeth thy coast, as he had sworn unto thy fathers, and give thee all the land which he promised to give unto thy fathers.
See, you got to understand that it was prophesied that when we went into the land, that wasn't the end of us receiving land. This entire earth was created for us, but he was going to slowly enlarge our borders. Why do you think our brothers were given this land? They were given this land because our borders were being enlarged, where we would have had some of our people on the western hemisphere of the world. Some of our brothers would have been on the eastern hemisphere of the world. and we should be ruling everything right now in these modern times. But because we messed up, we lost it. And now Esau's got it. Esau's been given the fatness of the earth, which was rightfully for us. Go ahead and read, though.
If thou shalt keep all these commandments to do them, which I command thee this day, to love the Lord thy God, and to walk ever in his ways, then shalt thou add 3 cities more for thee besides these 3, that innocent blood be not shed in thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance, and so blood be upon thee. But if any man hate his neighbor, and lie in wait for him, and rise up against him, and smite him mortally, that he die, and fleeth into one of these cities, then the elder of his city shall send and fetch him thence, and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, that he may die.
So he's saying now, if you had hatred towards your neighbor, you laid in wait, meaning you were in hiding. He came home, you jumped out the bushes, stabbed him up, and you jumped in your car and ran, or took off and ran. You rose up against him, you killed him. And now you try and flee into one of these cities. There's no refuge for you. The elder of the city's got to bring you in and be like, hey, you know what? Nope, there's no sanctuary city for you. You got to go and go before the judges. You got to go before the elders and get judgment passed now. Go ahead and read on.
Thine eye shall not pity him, but thou shalt put away the guilt of innocent blood from Israel, that it may go well with thee.
So that's innocent blood. It doesn't matter what this person may have said or done to you. You go and lay in wait for them, and you got that hatred in your heart for them, and you murder them. There was no, at that time, there was no forgiveness for you. Absolutely none. All right. Let's go to Matthew 5:21-24. So are you see anything wrong with these commandments, with this law? But yet and that's what makes me cringe when you hear a Christian out there talking about nobody can keep the law. The law is done away with. It makes you cringe because you're like, what are you talking about? So you mean that there's something wrong with teaching our people not to kill, not to lay in wait for each other, not to throw a rock at your brother, not to stab your brother, not to pick up a gun and shoot? You mean to tell me that there's something wrong with that law? It's crazy. Go ahead and read, though.
The book of Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 21. And it says, ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. But I say unto you, that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of his judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift.
So Christ was reminding us, remember in the days of old time that, you were told, thou shalt not kill. And whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the punishment. So is Christ saying that commandment is done away with? Am I misunderstanding this, or is Creflo Dollar out of his mind? Because Christ is reminding, remember back in the old time, he says, thou shalt not kill. I'm telling you, not only should you not kill, but if you know, he says, but I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. In other words, just you hating your brother and you being angry at him is putting you in danger of the judgment. The same judgment of you killing him is what he's saying. He's not saying, well, the commandment, thou shalt not kill, is done away with. It's just now, if you are angry with him, then you should be punished. No.
Right.
It all blends together. It's all one, all one. You hating him without cause is the same thing as you killing him. How do we know this? Because in 1 John 3:15, let's go there again. We read it earlier. It's restated again.
The book of 1 John, chapter 3 and verse 15. Whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer, and ye know that no murderer hath eternal life abiding in him.
So whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer, and ye know that no murderer hath eternal life abiding in him. Christ was saying the same thing as we just read, that if you have hatred in your brother, in your heart for your brother, you're angry with him without a cause, you're a murderer. You're in danger of the same judgment as a murderer is, which was what? Death. So what are you supposed to do? Christ said back in Matthew 5:23, therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, meaning he's got a problem with you, you just remember, you bring your gift, because you're going to do as the law commands, come and bring your gift for what? For restitution, to repent. He says, leave there thy gift before the altar and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother and then come and offer thy gift. You got to first go talk it out and hash it out with your brother. Hey, you know what, man, you did this. You made me feel this way. I may have said some things to you that caused you to be upset and hurt you. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I apologize. I repent. The brother says the same thing. They hug it out, hash it out, and everything should be good at that point. But we don't see that happening in Israel. We see it. It's fake. It's always, yeah, we hashed it out. Yeah, we squashed that. But then a month later, it's brought up again. 5 months later, it's brought up again. A year later, it's still being brought up. We've got to stop this. So we've got, we're going to read through a couple of instances where we've seen this very thing happen, where because remember, whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. So we're going to we're going to read about a couple of instances in the scriptures where besides what we read about Cain and Abel, that brothers came against other brothers or their brethren to kill them, or they had that hatred. That's what we always got to do. Whenever we read about the commandments or we learn about the commandments, we want to go into the scriptures and see, how did our forefathers deal with this stuff? When it came to Commandment 6, did our forefathers break this commandment? Yes, they sure did break Commandment 6. And when they broke Commandment 6, how was it dealt with? What was the outcome? The who, what, when, where, why, and how of the situation. And how do we apply that to today to prevent our people from following in the footsteps and committing the same problem or the same crime or breaking the same law or commandment? So we're going to go to Genesis 37. So we're going to read about how Joseph's brothers hated Joseph. And what did they do? Because of their envy and jealousy and hatred of their brother, they plotted to kill him. All right. So Genesis 37 and 1 through 36.
The book of Genesis, chapter 37 and verse 1. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the land was with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Silpha, his father's wife. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him.
That's
And
that
Joseph,
jealousy.
mhm. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaves arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made
Ob-
obedience
Obedience.
obeisances to my sheaves. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dream and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren. And he said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obedience to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brethren invited, and his brethren invited him. But his father observed the sayings, and his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, Do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, I will send thee unto them. And he said unto him, Here I am. And he said to him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren and well with the flock, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the valley of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flock. And the man said, There are departed hence, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him.
So here they are. You know how our people are. Man, here come that fool, man. Nobody want to deal with him. What he sent him out here for? You know what, man? We should just kill him. You know, just get rid of him. That's how much hatred they had in their heart for their own brother. Read on.
And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him and cast him into some pit, and we will say some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams.
So here they are plotting. Let's just get rid of him. Let's just kill him. But one of the brothers has, more level-headed. Read on.
And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, Let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels bearing spices and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hands be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianites, merchants, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. And he returned unto his brethren and said, the child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of the goats and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, this have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no.
You see, they wouldn't be able to get away with that today with DNA evidence. They would have been like, you know what? Let us test that blood in that coat. Like, right. You know what? They lying. There's some liars. What'd you do with your brother?
Right. And he knew it and said it is my son's coat. An evil beast had devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. And Jacob rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his loins and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, for I will go down into the grave unto my son's mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into the Egyptians unto Potiphar, an offer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard.
So at that last part, said the Midianites sold him unto Egypt, unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard. So he was one of Pharaoh's officers. But you can see here, this is another situation where our forefathers had that hatred towards their own brother and plotted to kill them. So they thought they were being more righteous by, well, instead of killing them, we'll just sell them into slavery, basically. We'll sell them to these people. Who does that? You know what I mean? It's like you going out with your little brother or sister and you're like, you know what, man, I can't stand them. Hey, come here. I'm going to sell you to this pimp right here. And you end up just giving the little girl to the pimp and selling her. Here, take her. I can't stand her. My parents love her too much. They love her more than me. It's just crazy. But again, you let these Christian pastors tell it. There's nothing that we can learn from this, from the Old Testament. Nothing at all. Even though it's in the New Testament that says whatsoever things were written aforetime are written for our learning. It's crazy. Another one was go to 1 Samuel chapter 18. Now, this is the story about Saul hating David. Now, if you want to learn more about it, you got to read the whole thing. But we're just going to get a snippet of it to get an understanding of how much hatred Saul had towards David when David did nothing to Saul but showed love to him. Go ahead and read. So you're going to go chapter 18 and 1 through verse 30.
Okay. The book of 1 Samuel chapter 18 and verse 1. And it came to pass when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day and would let him go no more home to his father's house. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was upon him and gave it to David, and his garment, even to his sworn, and to his bow, and to his girdle. And David went out with whatsoever Saul sent him, and behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. And it came to pass, as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, that the women came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing, to meet King Saul with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music. And the woman answered another as they played, and said, Saul had slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, They have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom? And Saul eyed David from that day and forward. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David played with his hand as at other times, and there was a javelin in Saul's hand. And Saul cast the javelin, for he said, I will smite David even to the wall with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice. And Saul was afraid of David, because the Lord was with him, and was departed from Saul. Therefore Saul removed him from him, and made him his captain over thousands. And he went out to and came in before the people. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Wherefore, when Saul saw that he behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David, because he went out and came in before them.
So,
And
in
Saul,
other words, he was leading the armies. He was fighting. And Saul allowed that spirit of jealousy and envy to come on him, because they were singing about him killing his thousands, but David killed his 10,000s. He didn't like that. So as it says in verse 9, and Saul eyed David from that day and forward. What is that talking about? That side eye that we even see today. In Israel, a brother, you know what I mean, on the job, a brother may get a promotion on the job, and the other people, get a lot of praise on the job. Man, he works hard. He does this, he does that, he does it. And then the other brothers on the job are looking at him side eye with envy and jealousy, like, man, he must think he all that now. Why, what are they giving him so much praise for? You know what I mean? That's how that's how they are towards each other.
mm-hmm.
We're quick to allow envy and jealousy to come in the midst of us and corrupt us. Go ahead, and you're at verse 17 now.
Verse 17. And Saul said to David, Behold, my elder daughter, Merab, her will I give thee to wife. Only be thou valiant for me, and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul said, Let not my hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him.
So
and
he's plotting already, like, you know what, I'm not going to do anything to him, but let the Philistines kill him. Read on.
And David said unto Saul, Who am I, and what is my life, or my father's family in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? But it came to pass at that time, when Merab, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given unto Adriel the Meholite to wife, and Michelle. Yeah, the Michael and Michelle's are always hard for me. And Michelle, Saul's daughter, loved David, and they told Saul, and the thing pleased him.
You see,
And
when
Saul,
he made the offer originally, it wasn't sincere. He was just talking. In his heart, he really wanted David to get killed by the Philistines. He really was hoping he'd get killed. But into David, he was trying to, talk nice and smooth to him. Yeah, I'll give you my daughter to marry. But he turned around and gave her to somebody else. Go ahead and read.
and Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, and that that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, Thou shalt this day be my son-in-law in the one of the twains.
So didn't we see this before? We saw this with Jacob. He was promised one daughter, and then he got tricked into taking the other daughter. So right here, David was promised, what was her name? Mirab. In verse 17, Saul said to David, Behold, my elder daughter Mirab, her will I give thee to wife. But he wasn't sincere about it. He ended up giving her to somebody else. But then when he found out his other daughter had love for David, now he was like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, okay, I'll make you happy. I'll let you marry him. But go ahead and read.
Verse 22, and Saul commanded his servants, saying, commune with David secretly, and say, Behold, the king had delight in thee, and all his servants love thee. Now therefore be the king's son-in-law. And Saul's servants spake those words in the ears of David. And David said, Seemeth it to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing that I am a poor man and lightly esteemed?
You see, Saul knew that his daughter Michal, that she was a demon. He knew what kind of person she was because she showed her true colors. When you read, more into Samuel, how when David and they brought the Ark of the Covenant into the city of David, and David was out dancing and carrying on, and Michal was looking at him with hatred in her heart. Like, oh, what is he doing? Like, oh, is this how the king is supposed to be acting? Even though she supposedly loved David, on the other hand, she was a demon. She had hatred towards him too. Like a lot of our women today, they may meet a man, supposedly love him, but then once they got him, then all of a sudden he's a nobody, he's nothing. So it was the same situation. Saul knew that she had become a snare to him. That's the reason why he's like, I'll let him marry her, because all she's going to be to him, she's going to be a snare. Go ahead and read on.
Verse 24. And the servant of Saul told him, saying, On this manner spake David. And Saul said, Thus shall ye say to David, The king desireth not any dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Philistines, to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines.
So he still has it in his mind. Like, you know what? You want to marry her? Okay, then go and bring me 100 foreskins of the Philistines, but not thinking he'd be able to accomplish it, hoping that he would get killed. Go ahead and read.
And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law, and the days were not expired. Wherefore David arose and went, he and his men, and slew of the Philistines 200 men. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in full tale to the king, that he might be the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, to wife. And Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughters, loved him. And Saul was yet the more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually.
See that? It says that Saul was yet the more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually. He had this perpetual, continuous hatred towards David, and he became an enemy to him, even though David did nothing but show love. And I can understand that, because I've experienced that many a times myself, where you just have total love, for a brother, a friend or whatever. And you think this person got your back. But in reality, they're plotting and planning behind your back to, either try and do something to you, or, you know what I mean? They got envy and jealousy for whatever reason. We see that a lot in Israel. Go ahead and read on.
Verse 30. Then the princes of the Philistines went forth, and it came to pass after they went forth that David behaved himself more wisely than all the servants of Saul, so that his name was much set by.
So David was showing himself to be a wise follower of the Most High, showing, in his wisdom. And the Most High was with David, and Saul envied that. And so that's why he became his enemy continually. Envy and jealousy is a very powerful trait. It's not a positive trait. It's a very negative trait, but regardless, it's very powerful, and it could cause a lot to happen. A lot of murders, a lot of killings happen because of envy and jealousy. All right. So what is it to learn from this? That we should not be having hatred. We should not be having envy and hatred towards our brothers for no reason. We shouldn't be having it, period, really. There is no good reason to have that spirit of envy and jealousy on you. All right. So let's read another situation. This is with Christ, that his own brothers hated him and plotted to kill him. Go to Matthew 26 and 3 through 4.
The book of Matthew, chapter 26 and verse 3. Then assemble together the chief priests and the scribes and the elders of the people unto the place of the high priest, who was the high palace.
Unto the palace of the high priest.
Let me read it again. Then assemble together the chief priests and the scribes and the elders of the people unto the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and consulted that they might take Jesus by subtlety and kill him.
So again, these are Christ's own brothers. These are Israelites, his own people, that were so jealous and envious of him that they plotted and planned on how they could kill him. All why? Because he had more followers, and he was bringing more followers than them, or more people were leaving them and following him. He was teaching righteously. He was living righteously. But instead of following him, instead of learning from him, they wanted to get him out of the way. And you see that today in Israel. You got these established camps, and as soon as they see a new person come in that's teaching a doctrine or something that completely disannuls what they're teaching, or a doctrine or a teaching that they've been teaching their congregation, they're quick to try and defame this person, or bring accusations against them, or try and down their doctrine in some way to keep people from watching them. And unfortunately, a lot of our people are just not really wanting to know the truth, that they're comfortable being around some of these congregations because they're not being expected to actually keep the commandments in the congregation. They're, you know what I mean? They're not being kept to a high standard. So it's easy, it's comfortable. Just be who you were and be who you are, and it's all good. As long as you got your fringes on, you got on your border of blue, you're going to the Sabbath and keeping the high holy days, you're good. Everything else will fall into place because we're just rehearsing the righteous acts. Again, that's why we have to sit back and wonder why all this stuff is going on in Israel. All right, we're almost done. Let's go to Matthew 21 and 33 through 41.
The book of Matthew, chapter 21 and verse 33. Hear another parable. there was a certain householder which planted a vineyard and hedged it round about and digged a winepress in it and built a tower and let it out to husbandmen and went into a far country.
So now this parable is speaking of Christ. Christ is that householder. He's the one that planted a vineyard. His vineyard is the Israelites, the nation of Israel. Go ahead and read.
And when the time of the fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the husbandmen that they might receive the fruit of it. And the husbandman took his servant and beat one and killed another and stoned another.
So these are the prophets. They've been sent out to teach the people, to gather the fruit. And instead, they took the servants and they beat one of them. They killed another one. They stoned another. Go ahead and read.
Again, he sent another servant more than the first. And
So hold on. So first he sent out Isaiah and Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, and that wasn't enough for them. So now he's got to send out some of the other prophets like Joel, Obadiah, some of the other ones. Go ahead and read.
And they did unto them likewise. But last of all sent unto them his son, saying, they will reverence my son.
So now he's like, you know what? I sent all these other prophets. I've sent angels. I've done everything I could, and I'm just going to send my son. I'll send my son down there and, I'm sure they'll listen to him. I'm sure they'll have enough respect for him that they will, they will reverence him. Go ahead and read.
But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him and let us seize on his inheritance.
So they plotted, you know what? Oh, that's the son. He's the one that's going to inherit everything from his father. If we kill him, everything will come to us. Go ahead.
And they caught him and cast him out of the vineyard and slew him. When the Lord therefore of the vineyard cometh, what will he do unto those husbandmen? They said unto him, he will miserably destroy those wicked men, and will let out his vineyard unto other husbandmen, which shall render him the fruit of their seasons.
So that's those scribes and Pharisees. They killed Christ because they wanted to keep their positions. They, you know what I mean? They had the power, they had the fame, they had the money, they had everything. They didn't want to let that go. So they needed Christ out of the way because everything was supposed to go to him. It's heavy. But why did they do it? All because of envy and jealousy. They were envious of him and they hated him. And we see the same thing today. Certain leaders hate certain leaders of other camps, all because of envy and jealousy. There's no other reason behind it, but just for the fact that this person's camp is larger, they got more members, or they're doing more things in their camp, whatever the case is. That envy and jealousy is real in Israel, just like no different than the music industry, where at one point in time, they were allowing our people to set up these music studios, these music labels, and instead of working together, they ended up destroying each other. To now, where are they at? Where's Death Row Records? Where's Ruthless Records? Where's Bad Boy Records? Where's Murder Inc? All of them, where are they at? Def Jam, all of them. We destroy and corrupt everything we get in our hands. So we can't keep blaming Esau for it. We're beyond that point of blaming the other nations for what's going on with us. It's our fault. And then we wonder why the Most High is not listening to us, why he's not blessing our people, why he's not stepping in to stop the murder and killing of our people at the hands of the police. Why should he step in and stop the police from killing us when we're killing each other? What makes you think he will do that? He's not listening to us right now. Go to 2nd Ezra 1 and 26.
The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 1 and verse 26. Whensoever ye shall call upon me, I will not hear you, for ye have defiled your hands with blood, and your feet are swift to commit manslaughter.
He's telling us straight. He's not listening to us. Why is that? Because we have defiled our hands with blood, and our feet are swift to commit manslaughter. We're swift to commit murder against each other and against others. We're not just killing each other, we're killing people of the other nations too. Just like people of the other nations are killing us. We're guilty of the same thing. He's telling us straight, whensoever ye shall call upon me, I will not hear you. And he gives us the reason why he's not going to hear us. For ye have defiled your hands with blood, and your feet are swift to commit manslaughter. Very clear. So the next time there's a mother out there crying over her son, Lord, why did this have to happen? He ain't done nothing to nobody. He didn't deserve this, yet he was out in the streets banging. He's got more bodies on his hands than the dude that killed him. But yet his mother is proclaiming he ain't done nothing to hurt nobody. Why is God not going to listen? Because more than likely the same mother that's standing there complaining about her son getting killed and why did it have to happen, she probably had hatred towards a sister of hers, and she started a fight at some point with somebody, walking through the store and starting an argument or starting a fight over nothing. And that's where the son got it from watching his mama. His mother was out of control and couldn't control her actions, and now the son has followed suit, and it got him killed. And now she's, why, Lord, why did this happen? Let's go to Genesis 9 and 6 again.
The book of Genesis, chapter 9 and verse 6. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man.
So all this killing, this murder, this hatred that we have in Israel, we have to repent of this evil. We have to get this out of the hearts and minds of our people. Otherwise, we're going to be here for a long time, and we're going to continue to see the destruction of our people. It's up to us. We keep hoping that Joe Biden and, the Congress and the senators and your local mayor and your, the governor are going to step in and do something. The chief of police is going to step in and do something. Can't rely on these people. We've got to repent of this evil. We as a people. Go to Ezekiel 20. Ezekiel 20, you're going to read verses 42 through 44.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 20 and verse 42. 42. And ye shall know that I am the Lord, when I shall bring you into the land of Israel, into the country for the which I lifted up my hand to give it to your fathers. And there shall ye remember your ways and all your doings wherein ye have been defiled. And ye shall loathe yourself in your own sight for all your evils that ye have committed. And ye shall know that I am the Lord when I have brought with you for my name's sake, not according to your wicked ways, nor according to your corrupt doings, O ye house of Israel, saith the Lord God.
So he's telling, he said, ye shall know that I am the Lord when I shall bring you into the land of Israel, into the country for the which I lifted up mine hand to give it to your fathers. There's nowhere in the scriptures that says that America and Europe are going to put the Israelites back in their land. It's always that he's going to put us back in the land. That should be the biggest indicator that the people that are over there in the land today are not the Israelites. Verse 43, and there shall ye remember your ways and all your doings wherein ye have been defiled. Where have the people that are in the land today started to remember their evil ways? They're just as evil now as they were when they first went in 1948. They're even worse. Over there having gay pride parades all up in Jerusalem and all kinds of stuff. But yet they're trying to portray and proclaim that they're the children of the people of God, that they're the children of the Most High. It's a lie. He says, and there shall ye remember your ways and all your doings wherein ye have been defiled. So they haven't repented of nothing if they're the children of God. They're over there worse than what they were before. It says, and ye shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for all your evils that you have committed. And ye shall know that I am the Lord when I have wrought with you for my name's sake, not according to your wicked ways, nor according to your corrupt doings, O ye house of Israel, saith the Lord God. They haven't repented of nothing because they have nothing to repent from as far as dealing with the Most High. They're not the people that corrupted themselves and went against the laws of the Most High. We are. The Bible proves it. The commandments prove it. The curses prove it. Everything in this book proves who the children of God are and who the children of God aren't. But the only way you're going to know is by reading the book. The children of the Most High God are the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We are the ones out here committing murder against each other. We've committed all this blood. We've corrupted ourselves and we're being punished for it. And we've got to repent from it. Let's go to Sirach chapter 21 and verse 1. You're going to read through verse 6.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 21 and verse 1. My son, hast thou sinned? Do so no more, but ask pardon for my former sins.
For thy former sins?
For thy former sins. Flee from sin as from the face of a serpent. For if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee. The teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men. All iniquity is as a toad sword, the wounds whereof cannot be healed.
Read that again. Verse 3.
Verse 3. All iniquities is as a toad, is what it says?
Two-edged sword.
Oh, thank you. It does say that. All iniquities is as a two-edged sword, the wounds whereof cannot be healed. To terrify and do wrong will waste riches. Thus the house of proud men shall be made desolate. A prayer out of a poor man's mouth reacheth to the ears of God, and his judgment cometh speedily. He that hateth to be reproved is in the way of sinners, but he that feareth the Lord will repent from his heart.
So I'm going to read it one more time. It says, my son, hast thou sinned? Do so no more. If we've sinned, we are the children of God. He is commanding us that we don't do it anymore. But ask pardon for thy former sins. We've got to ask the Most High to pardon us for our former sins. Whatever sins you sinned in the past, especially if you were a murderer, you had hatred in your heart for your own brothers, you were an adulterer, you were a liar, a cheater, whatever the case is, a thief, you got to repent and do it no more and ask for pardon from the Most High. Verse 2 says, flee from sin, as from the face of a serpent. For if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee. The teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men. So we've got to flee from sin as if there's a python right there on the ground that's getting ready to bite you, or a rattlesnake. That rattlesnake is coiled up. He's ready to strike and bite you, and you're going to run. That's how we've got to run from sin. That's how we've got to treat sin. When those thoughts come into your mind of breaking God's commandments, you've got to flee from it. And those times of temptation, you've got to flee from that sin. You got to run from it. You've got to look at that sin as a serpent, that snake sitting right there in front of you about to bite you. And you want to get to safety. You want to get as far away from it as quick as possible. He says, all iniquity is as a two-edged sword, the wounds whereof cannot be healed. To terrify and do wrong will waste riches. Thus the house of proud men shall be made desolate. A prayer out of a poor man's mouth reacheth to the ears of God, and his judgment cometh speedily. So he's listening to the poor. The Most High is listening to the poor man, but he's not listening to the proud man. He's not listening to the rich man. That's why all these rich people that are among us, they still go through a lot of trials and tribulations. Money doesn't buy happiness. That's why the majority of these entertainers and these sports and these athletes, sports stars and athletes, they're not happy. Why? Because their spirits are not right. They don't care about God. They don't care about the commandments. That's why you see many of them committing murders and having hatred towards people. It says, he that hateth to be reproved is in the way of sinners, but he that feareth the Lord will repent from his heart. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 13 through 14. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13 through 14.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
And with that, we're going to say shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Enjoy the rest of the Sabbath, and we'll see you next Sabbath. Same time at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Shalom.